Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories, where today, am I the jerk for sending away the girl who came to clean my house because she ate my cake? I, 24 female, am married to my husband who's 28, and we have one daughter together who's 4, Aliyah. We both work a lot, and I also work from home often. I needed cleaning, so last week I called an agency and they sent a girl over to clean the house, and we agreed on $40 an hour. Let's call her Eva. So Eva, who's around 19 or 20, she arrives at my house with her little sister, who's 8. I asked her why her little sister was here, and she said she had nowhere else to leave her with. I wasn't very pleased, but assumed that she didn't have a choice, and I didn't say anything. I showed Eva the playroom of my daughter and said that it was to be cleaned as well, and her sister started staring around the room and touching all of the toys. I again didn't say anything. Eva started working, and I went to my room to go get ready to pick up a cake for Aliyah and to pick up Aliyah from school. I hear a noise in Aliyah's playroom, so I rushed over and I saw that Eva's sister was playing in the room and she had broken a glass bowl that I had custom made for Aliyah when she was born. At this point, I was annoyed, but again, I held myself and told Eva to clean it and keep an eye on her sister. I went out, picked up Aliyah's favorite cake with strawberries. It was a cake that had strawberries on only one side on the top, and on that same side, there were more decorations, etc. I put it in the fridge and left again to go pick up Aliyah. When we walked in the kitchen, I saw Eva's sister eating a big piece of the cake and exactly the part with the strawberries and more decorations. I've never had an issue like this before. In fact, the cleaning ladies never even opened my fridge or anything because they have no business in there. I asked Eva what she thought she was doing, and she told me, "My sister was sad and really wanted cake, so I figured she could have a piece." Aliyah started crying because she had been looking forward to her cake with strawberries, and now the piece with strawberries was gone. I told Eva that it's not her place to figure whether her sister could eat something from my fridge without asking me. She could have waited for me to get back because I told her I would be back. I told her that even if she did do this, she should not have taken the whole decorated piece because she could have also figured that this cake was meant for my daughter. Eva said that, "You're getting mad for no reason. Just take the money from my pay." I told her she could pack her stuff and leave with her sister, and she didn't have to finish the house cleaning. She had been at the house for only 2 hours, but I paid her $120 and told her to get out. So I told a friend, and she told me that I overreacted over a piece of cake, and I should have been more understanding. I again said that it's not just the cake, but it's rude to open my fridge and take out a cake that is not unboxed yet and eat it. I'm wondering now, am I the jerk? Edit. Eva was supposed to be there for 3 hours, and I sent her away after 2 hours, but I paid her for 3. Not the jerk for sending her away. You are the jerk for paying her what you did. When the bowl was broken, you should have called the agency and asked if their insurance covered both the person cleaning as well as your sister. If their insurance covered the broken bowl, then you should have immediately filed a claim for the replacement. If not, then the person cleaning is responsible for the replacement cost. Either way, you should have asked her to leave at that point. If the replacement cost was more than she had earned at that point, then she leaves with no pay. OP. The bowl was custom made, and it was a big one with lights on it and decorated with my favorite flowers. Besides that, it also consisted from crystal stones on the bottom, so it was well worth more than what she had earned that day. Luckily, the bowl was insured, so I'll get a new one. I just figured this 20-year-old needed money, and I wanted to give her a second chance. My best friend confessed that the reason why me and my fiancé are getting married is because of her. I don't know what to do. I've been sleepless for days because of this. I need to get this all off my chest or my heart might explode. My wedding is on the 19th, and my bachelorette party was last Saturday and was organized by my best friend, Lucy. I partied with my bridesmaids, had some shots, and they were so excited for me marrying the love of my life, Erwin. We've been together for 3 years. After the party, everyone was wasted and went home, leaving Lucy and I in the Airbnb. I wasn't that drunk, at most tipsy, so I helped her clean up because I'll be staying the night with her too. While we're cleaning, she's silent, which is very not like her. She was very active during the party, so I thought she was just tired, so I told her I would finish up and she can go rest. So she went to the bathroom. While I was finishing the dishes, she returned to the kitchen. She told me that she needs to tell me something. So I stopped what I was doing. Then she said she's sorry. She didn't expect that Erwin would ask me to marry him because it was a bet gone wrong. I was confused and asked her to elaborate. But what she basically told me is that when I first introduced them to each other, she and Erwin had a bet that if he can get me to marry him, she will exclusively date him. Apparently, they've been secretly dating since before I met Erwin. Their relationship was toxic, so they had these constant breakups, but on this particular break, she allowed him to date anyone. That's when Erwin and I met. When I asked her why she's only telling me this now, she said that she felt guilty. She didn't want to hurt me, but she didn't want to take full accountability and acknowledge Erwin's part in this. She was trying to convince Erwin to come clean together, but he refused and told her no. The bet was long gone because he was genuinely in love with me already. When I asked her if she still had feelings for Erwin, she answered yes, and she realized how good of a man Erwin is now. When I asked if Erwin knows how she feels about him, she answered no. But if I allow her, she'll confess her feelings to him. At this point though, I just left. I had no energy left. I feel so played and betrayed and humiliated. The two closest people in my life made me a pawn to their sick game. I don't even know what to do, where to start. I'm so confused. It's been 3 days and I haven't told anyone yet. Not even Erwin, who's in Hong Kong. Not even my parents. Lucy hasn't tried to contact me, and I think she didn't say anything yet to Erwin. The wedding is in 2 weeks. How do I face this? Update. Lucy and I have been friends for 11 years since high school. We even attended the same uni, but different courses. During college, we had a bit of a falling out due to our busy schedules, but after graduation, we reconnected. But she isn't as open to me now as she was before. When I ask about her love life, she'll say that she's not ready for dating, only doing casual flings. She once introduced me to her then boyfriend, so yes, I admit I was kind of a crappy friend and did not keep up with her flings. I work corporate and Lucy works remotely, so sometimes she stays for a month or so on an island or on a beach, so we rarely see each other. But we always get together when she's in my city. Lucy is not my maid of honor. My sister is my maid of honor, but she's still in uni for exams, so Lucy took over planning the bachelorette party. When I said that I introduced Lucy and Erwin to each other, I meant I introduced Erwin as my boyfriend to Lucy. Sorry if that's confusing. As for Lucy and Erwin's relationship, I don't know the timeline yet. A little history of how Erwin and I met. We met at a company event. My company was the host and his was one of our clients. We bonded over the after party and exchanged numbers. Days after, he added me on Facebook. I actually saw that he and Lucy were mutual friends, so I asked if they knew each other. He answered yes, and they met during their internship days, but they weren't close. I asked Lucy to, and she confirmed it too, so I didn't make a big deal of it. We began casual dating, no labels, just to see where things go. I knew that he had been seeing someone else at that time, but I was too. But when we admitted to wanting to make things official with us, we broke up with our casual flings, and the rest is history. I picked him up from the airport yesterday, and I told him about Lucy's confessions. He went pale, but he was calm. He told me to ask everything I want to know, and he will answer truthfully. I'll try to summarize everything here. 1. Did he know that I was Lucy's best friend when we met? No, they didn't talk much about their personal lives when they were together. But he knew that Lucy's best friend's name was my name. But when we met, he didn't really put the pieces together. 2. How long were they dating before we met? He did not keep count because they were on and off again, but they were casually seeing each other for around 4 months before we met. And in his mind, they were never official as they didn't label their relationship. He did try to pursue her, but she kept messing with his head, so when she allowed him to date when they were on break, he thought of it as a way out. 3. Did he really bet on me? Yes, but he didn't take it seriously. He also did not initiate it. 4. When did the bet happen? It happened days after I introduced him as a friend to Lucy. He admitted that since we were still not exclusively dating, he still saw Lucy. Lucy initiated the bet, and if he did win, she would know that he is mature enough to seriously date. 5. When did their relationship end? A month or so before we made our relationship official, he already broke things off with Lucy because he was starting to fall for me. Lucy took it well and did not even bring up the bet. Why all of a sudden has Lucy brought it up? Lucy started bringing it up after we made our engagement official. He admitted to have forgotten all about the bet until she reminded him of it. So when Lucy reached out to come clean, he refused because he didn't really think it was that serious. 7. Is he aware of Lucy's feelings? No, he genuinely thinks that Lucy is happy for us. Right now, I don't know where to go from here. I believe him, but I just don't like the idea that the foundation of our relationship is from a bet. Whether it's serious or not, it's still not good. Can we rebuild trust from here? I don't know, but I'm willing to try. Aside from this issue, Erwin has been a great boyfriend, and I don't want to make harsh decisions about us and regret it in the end. What I do know now is that we need to call off the wedding. He told me that he'll understand if I don't want to go on with our wedding anymore, but he asked me to consider our relationship because he loves me and he'll do anything to regain my trust back. I also learned that Lucy actually tried to contact Erwin days after the bachelorette party, but Erwin missed her calls. She's still not reaching out to me, but I don't care anymore. Many of you say that she's sabotaging our relationship. This is her last-ditch effort to have Erwin by herself, and I think you're right. It just hurts that our 11 years of friendship have to end this way. So there. I think this will be my last update. Everything from here on will be Erwin and I's decisions. Thank you everyone for listening. Am I the jerk for banning my husband's sister from my house until she uses the names of my twins? I, 38 female, am married to my husband and we have 2 kids, twins, Amy and Nina, who are 6. We live in the same town as most of his family and this house that I inherited from my grandfather. It's the biggest house in the family, so we often host family gatherings. My husband's youngest sister, Jane, who's 31, has been traveling for work ever since her early 20s. Mid-2022, she moved in with her fiancé about half an hour drive away from us. After that, Jane shows up regularly at family gatherings and rebuilds relationships with her family members. The only thing she never bothers to do is address my daughters by their names. Amy and Nina are identical twins. I understand when people refer to them as the twins, but I think it's important that their individuality is respected. I always tell my family and friends that now that they're 6 years old, it's important for them to each have their own identity, and if possible, please treat them as individuals rather than a pair or a unit. My girls have different interests and hair and dressing styles, so it's not hard to tell them apart. Jane always insists on calling the girls the twins and makes no effort to distinguish them. I've asked her many times to treat them as individuals, like her other nieces and nephews, and Jane would say okay and then keep doing the same thing. Last Christmas, Amy made paper cranes and Nina painted flower pictures as their Christmas gifts to everyone in the family. They signed their names and individually handed the gift to everyone. Jane's fiancé had to work this year and did not join us, so after brunch, she video called him in the living room while the rest of us did our things nearby. Her fiancé saw the crane in her hands and asked where she got it from, and Jane said, "Oh, one of the twins gave it to me for Christmas. The other twin drew some flowers." I felt that this was disrespectful, as my girls put a lot of effort into the gifts and deserved to have their private dedication recognized. When everyone left, I told Jane I expected her to call my girls Amy and Nina from now on, and to treat them like individuals and know their differences. Jane said that she won't bother, as my girls are still too young. So I told her that she's banned from my house until she learns how to address my girls by their names. Jane just stomped off. My husband agreed with me on this. A few days ago, my mother-in-law called to plan my husband's birthday in early February. I told her we could have the party at my house like usual, but Jane would not be invited. My mother-in-law was alarmed and asked me why, and when she learned of what happened, she was mad at Jane. Jane called me a few hours ago, calling me a jerk for making a big deal out of something insignificant. She said my girls would be known as the twins whether I like it or not, and once they got older, people will recognize them as individuals, but not now that they're young and just another couple of girls. She said she deserves to be with her family for her brother's birthday, and I need to let it go. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. As the mother of identical twin girls, who are now adults, I was very intentional about clearly treating them as individuals while still enjoying the uniqueness of being twins. Creating an environment where they are treated as 2 separate humans, not a unit, is incredibly important. They've commented more than once on how much they appreciated this growing up. Stick to your guns on this. I, 25 female, refused to let my boyfriend, who's 27, move in over an argument about decor. How do I get him to compromise? I, 25 female, just ended an argument with my boyfriend, 27, let's call him Alan, by informing him I wouldn't be moving in with him after all. He says I'm being dramatic and overreacting. I think he's waving red flags at me. Alan and I have been dating for 2 years and decided to move in together when our leases end. His ends in 3 months and mine ends next week. We picked out a new place together and I'm set to move in on the last day of my lease. Our agreement was that we would split the deposit and fees. I would move in and pay the rent 100% until he moved in, so that he wasn't paying rent at 2 places and didn't have to pay to end his lease early. Once his lease ends, we were going to add him to the lease and then split the rent and bills 70-30, because I make more and I believe in paying proportionally to what you make when living together. Tonight, while eating dinner, I mentioned that we should decide what furniture to keep and what to get rid of once he moves in. I was under the assumption that I would move in my things to use for the next 3 months, and then we'd figure out how to combine our two very different decorating styles when he moved in. But I wanted to know what major pieces of furniture he wanted to keep or get rid of or replace altogether. I want it noted that I never expected him to just let me decorate and furnish the entire apartment. That's when Alan got a confused look on his face and said, "What do you mean? Won't you be getting rid of most of your stuff?" I asked what he meant. Why would I be getting rid of most of my stuff? His reply was, "Babe, you can't expect me to live somewhere decorated the way your apartment is." I was offended by his disbelieving tone, but I understood that my decorating style isn't what most people go for. So I said, "Of course I don't expect to decorate the entire apartment. That's why we need to decide what we're keeping of yours and what we're keeping of mine and how to combine our different styles." Alan sighed the same way you do when you're trying to explain something pretty simple to someone who just doesn't understand no matter how you phrase it. Then he told me that no guy is ever going to want to live in a place with any of your stuff in it. He even went so far as to say that I was lucky I even stay over so often without complaining. Now, I'll admit, my personal decorating style is not going to land my place in any interior design magazines, but he just seemed like a jerk and honestly really rude. For context, my decor is what one of my friends likes to call Barbie meets goth, and another calls neon fairy obsessed with death. There's a lot of bright colors like pink, green, and blue, mostly pink, and morbid decor. Some examples include the Halloween skull bowl I painted hot pink and glued rhinestones to that hold snacks and candy in the kitchen. My collection of stuffed animals and squishmallows that sit on a large lime green cabinet that holds my movies and games, arranged around a small, not functional, guillotine where they were in the middle of carrying out the punishment of Mr. Sherbert. He's a teddy bear I got as a kid that's colored in a pastel rainbow color. My bathroom, which was exclusively decorated in mushrooms. If it comes in a mushroom pattern, I probably had it in my bathroom. The bath mat, shower curtain, trash can, wall decals, towels, everything had mushrooms on it, mostly in pink, blue, and yellow. My couch is pink, my coffee table teal, and my TV stand is gray, with bright blue floral contact paper lining the shelves and cabinets. Like I said, it's not an aesthetic that's for everyone, but I never thought Alan had a problem with it. The first time he visited my apartment, he said it fit my personality. Whenever I got a new piece of decor or did some do-it-yourself thing, he always complimented me on it. I know that doesn't mean he necessarily wanted to live in an apartment full of this stuff, but I never thought he disliked it enough to claim I was lucky he put up with it when he stayed over. I grew up in a house where everything was gray, brown, or white, and that kind of aesthetic bores me personally. So I love having fun, colorful things filling my home. I was more than prepared to make sacrifices to my style in order to live with my boyfriend, but he refused to accept any of the compromises I offered. He didn't want to let me keep any of my furniture. He said the pink couch was too girly, the lime green cabinet was ugly, the many different skull-shaped things were creepy and weird, and my colorful mushroom bathroom was childish. After an hour of trying to find some kind of compromise and things that I could keep, I finally asked him if he was going to try and make me get rid of everything I owned. His response was, "No, babe, I love your clothes." This man actually expects me to move into an apartment, live there for 3 months, and then get rid of everything I own when he moves in. I pointed out that was ridiculous, as I'd have to pack everything up and move it out twice in the span of 3 months, and that was ignoring the fact that he wants me to get rid of things I lovingly made because I couldn't find them to match my style. Alan claimed this was all a sacrifice I would just have to make for our relationship to move to this next step. So I asked him if he planned to get rid of his stuff so we could pick out new things together that we both liked. He said no. He said I should be more than happy with all of his things because none of it was weird or creepy or covered in glitter, because I also like shiny things and rhinestones. I do not bring glitter into my home. I actually laughed in his face. I might be the jerk for it, but I told him he had the most basic guy style I'd ever seen, and if most of his furniture wasn't black, I'd call him a sad beige mom. Alan was upset and said that I'm an adult and need to start acting like it instead of decorating like I'm a kid. I asked him why he's with me if my style is so offensive to him when he's the one who said it matched my personality. His response was, "You're a fun and quirky person, but that doesn't mean you should be decorating like a 3-year-old. How am I supposed to bring my friends over and not be embarrassed?" So I told him that until he apologizes for insulting me and my style and agrees to let me keep at least half of my things, he won't be moving in. My name is currently the one on the lease, and I'm the only one who can afford the apartment by myself, so I won't be adding him to the lease unless I believe he's truly sorry for what he said. I'm not going to live with someone who's embarrassed of something as important to me as my personal style. I think he bought into the nonsense about pink being too feminine and doesn't want to let me keep my decor because his friends will make jokes about him letting me take over or being whipped or something. How do I get him to compromise? Honestly, while your style sounds like a living nightmare for me, it's not about that. You love it, and as your partner, he needs to at least respect it. He's not even trying. Moving in together isn't just about sharing space, it's about learning that love isn't the only thing that matters, that compromise and mutual respect and a plethora of other things are needed for a relationship to work. This man is telling you flat out that he appreciates you, but he doesn't really respect who you are. If he's not ready for compromise now, at the very start of the racing line, when things are happy and easy, don't expect it from him later. Sounds like he fell in love with the manic pixie dream girl and now wants to guide her to adulthood. Forget that. Don't compromise. Don't make yourself smaller or drab because that meets with his approval. That comment of, "I love your clothes," as the only part of your style he likes makes me wonder how long that would last if you were to move in together. Look, being a cutesy manic pixie dream girl who wears elf ears is fine when you're 20, but moving into adulthood, most people want to be adults. They want to adopt a more refined style. Neither goth nor Barbie fit into that, but certainly not goth Barbie. You're going to have to accept that no grown adult will want your style and either be willing to grow and change or find someone who has a similar aesthetic. But you're going to close off a lot of options if you're not willing to move past the kid living with mom and dad phase of decorating. She'll find someone easily who appreciates her for her. Sure, there will be plenty of boys with Batman sheets and superhero posters on the wall that would love to have her. Actual grown men? Probably not so much. I mean, not for the long term. You're wrong. But okay, if it helps you feel better to pass judgment and tell someone they'll be forever alone, you do you. Are you accepting applications for roommates? I'd love to live in a space decorated as you describe. It will be a bit difficult to explain the situation to my husband, but I'm sure he'll understand. Alan needs to go where sad, boring people go and out of your life. Was he hiding the disgust with you for the whole relationship? My ex's new girlfriend is telling me that I'm causing problems in their relationship. When I, 30 female, was 16, I met my first real boyfriend, Vince, 31 male. He was 17 at the time. We were together for a year and then we broke up. While me and Vince definitely aren't friends, we are still friendly. The extent of our interaction is yearly happy birthday and happy new year messages, along with some small talk on that occasion. We follow each other on Instagram and sometimes like each other's pics. That's it, nothing more. Anyway, when I was at a New Year's Eve party a few days ago, I got a message from Vince saying, "Hey, Happy New Year, I wish you all the best." To which I replied, "Happy 2024, hope it treats you well." Fast forward to this morning. I got a message on Instagram from a girl I don't know, and this is what it said. "Hey OP, I'm not sure you know me, but I'm Vince's girlfriend. We've been together for a while now, and we are very serious about each other. I see that you message him and like his pics. I would appreciate if you stop that. We're going to get married, and this sort of interaction is not appropriate anymore. I hope you understand that inserting yourself in our relationship causes turmoil, and I cannot handle the stress and anxiety of it anymore. So I'm kindly asking you to stop." I was floored. I actually just started laughing, but I also got angry. She's misrepresenting things in her message. I checked out her profile. She's 23. I was a bit surprised by the age gap, but whatever floats their boat, I guess. She has plenty of pics of them together, so it's legit. She's his girlfriend. Now, I'm not sure what to do here. I feel like this girl is imagining things. She's claiming me liking some of Vince's pics and wishing him happy birthday is causing turmoil in their relationship. She says I'm inserting myself into their relationship. Me and Vince are not close at all. I didn't even know he was in a relationship. I showed this to my fiancé and best friend. My fiancé advised I block them both and don't get involved in this drama, which is definitely something I'm not opposed to. But my best friend told me I should maybe just send a screenshot of this to Vince, because maybe he knows about it, so it won't be a surprise to him. But if he doesn't, maybe he'd want to know his girlfriend is reaching out to his ex with some strange demands. So I don't know what to do here. I'm absolutely not going to reply to her, but should I let Vince know she messaged me or just let it be? Update. So I sat on this for a day or so, considering what I should do. There have been many comments pointing out how strange, insane, and bad it is that I stayed in contact with an ex, saying I must still have a thing for him. I honestly resent the implication. I see Vince much like a childhood friend, but some people were dead set on me being stuck on him, which is not necessarily bad. It just made me see lots of people see it this way, so his girlfriend might as well. So I decided to remove myself from the situation completely. I don't want to be a bad guy and a homewrecker in anyone's story. I blocked her on Instagram and blocked Vince as well, and I also blocked Vince on Facebook, and I thought that was it. A week passed, and I get another message from this girl, this time on Facebook. I didn't block her there because I didn't even know her full name. The messages were more hostile, now accusing me of not removing Vince from my LinkedIn connections as well. And she felt that's how I'm still trying to keep track of him. I almost never even use LinkedIn, and I completely forgot I even had him on there. I've never spoken to anyone on LinkedIn other than a recruiter. I don't know, this made my anxiety go through the roof. I blocked her on Facebook and removed Vince from my LinkedIn connections, and this is it for now. I hope she doesn't also check his MySpace account. Definitely do not engage with her. Take a screenshot and send it to Vince. Just keep it neutral, along the lines of, "Hey, just wanted to share with you what she sent me. I apologize if any interaction has been misconstrued as my inserting myself into your relationship. Best regards, OP." Then let him handle it. If he blocks you, so be it. If he doesn't block you, so be it. My friend and his fiancée are demanding to live with me. To me, this is simple that I've done nothing wrong, but some people are saying I'm the jerk, so I'd like the opinion of this fine sub. So I'm 28, male, and my friend Tom is 29, and his fiancée, Kat, is 31. Recently, Tom and Kat have come into financial issues and are unable to pay for their rent. As it stands, they can either move in with Kat's parents, who live roughly 2 hours away, or they can move in with me until they find another place to rent. Now, they would rather move in with me. I live alone in a 3-bedroom house, so I have the space. It would be easier for them as they can stay near our other friends and close to Tom's work. There's also a lot of parks nearby that Kat can take her dogs to for walks. That's all well and good for them. However, the idea of living with someone, let alone 2 people, does not sit well with me. I have 1 bedroom where I sleep. The other 2 bedrooms are my home office and my library. Furthermore, I love the feeling of coming home to an empty house. Everything is where I left it, and I can properly unwind. Also, living alone makes it easier to bring girls over. So I told Tom and Kat this, and they were not happy. They called me selfish for not sacrificing for them. They said a true friend would help. So I told them the blunt truth. I would be happy to help Tom. He works full-time and would respect my space. But I did not want Kat to live with me. Reasons being, she doesn't work, so she would be in my home much more than me. Her dogs are inside dogs, and I don't want that at all. And I told them that Tom has told me privately he gets frustrated that he comes home from work and still has to prepare dinner and do most of the chores. I told Kat she's lucky she's with someone who tolerates her and loves her, but I'm not like Tom. I'm not dealing with it. Kat breaks down crying at this point and calls me evil. I apologize to Tom, and I tell him he knows my stance. This happened late last year. Right now, Tom and Kat are living with Kat's parents still, and I know it's hard for them. My mates know how Kat is and told me I did the right thing. However, people who are close to Kat are saying I'm a terrible person and I put them in a situation which might ruin their relationship. So, am I the jerk for not letting my friend and his fiancée move in? OP stands up for himself, sets boundaries, and gives a Karen a reality check. Let's see what our friends on Reddit have to say about him. I don't think your comments about Kat were appropriate. It's not your relationship, so it's not okay to tell her those kinds of things. The stuff you said about the dogs is fine. What you said about her being home more than you is fine. Questioning her commitment to Tom is not, even if she is a bad fiancé. You don't actually need to give any reason why you want to live alone, which is why the personal comments were even more unnecessary. You're the jerk. I was firmly prepared to say not the jerk until the part where you apparently publicly told them both what Tom had told you privately about Kat. As far as not housing them, that's fine and not what makes you the jerk. But you didn't need to go into every little detail, and especially didn't need to betray Tom's trust like that. Your handling of the situation is what makes you the jerk. You're the jerk. Not for deciding not to rent space to your friends, that's your choice, and you had several valid reasons for not wanting to, specifically these 2, as roommates. But telling Kat that she is the main reason and spelling it all out was unnecessarily harsh. Just tell them you don't want 2 dogs living in your house, and that's enough of a reason, or something else. No need to list one of the person's character flaws, whether they are valid or just as you see them. Everyone sucks here. Sure, it would be convenient for them, but it's ultimately your house, and anyone who expects you to go out of your way to home them is plain wrong. The next time anyone complains, ask them to volunteer their own house since they're so eager to offer up yours. On the other hand, what you said to Kat is excessive. You also shared something Tom told you privately, violating his trust. Not the jerk. Imagine if OP was a female and didn't want her friend and the boyfriend moving in because dude was a lazy slob who didn't work or help with any chores. Would you all be tearing OP apart for not wanting them staying with her if that were the case? Of course not, because Reddit hypocrisy. Everyone sucks here. They should have accepted your no and not tried to guilt you into accepting them to move in. You should not have betrayed your friend's confidence about what he said about his fiancée. I get that you were frustrated by them being pushy, but you didn't need to go to that extent to achieve your goal. You chose the nuclear option because you knew it would end the argument. Now you deal with the fallout. Good rule of thumb. If you're going into a fight with he said, she said, facts as your weapons, you've already chosen poorly. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his friend and the fiancé? Please let us know. I'm proud of OP for not being a pushover, and it's a shame how all these little goofballs can't handle the truth. Karen cheats off my test. Huge mistake. In high school, I was a bit like Hermione Granger in the worst way. I was just an awkward kid who understood the material as well as the teacher did. I was that odd kid who read history books during the summer for fun. I'd constantly be raising my hand in class with the answer, looking for validation. That kind of behavior got me picked on quite a bit by a certain group of students in my history class. They'd tease me, mostly behind my back, but they weren't above cheating off me on the tests as they were difficult. But they weren't above cheating off me on the tests because they were difficult, and they knew that I knew all the answers. Very few of my test scores in this subject were below 100, as history is a passion of mine. Initially, I was flattered, but over the semester, I got the sinking feeling of being used, as these kids didn't show me respect in any other way. Our final history exam was a 50-question multiple-choice test, and it would be worth 30% of our final grade. The stakes couldn't be any higher. The teacher wrote the questions to be tricky. On the day of the final, I scanned through the test in a few minutes. I knew the material and I felt confident. My peers on either side of my desk were watching to see how I'd answer. Their neighbors were, in turn, discreetly watching them. It seemed as if this entire side of the class was hanging on my answers. I answered the first 3 questions accurately, then I went for the almost correct answer every other time. This resulted in a 54% score. I was careful to let the other kids see my test. Then, when I was finished, I waited and I stared at the wall with my test still in front of me. The time was running out and my classmates all began nervously turning in their tests, until only a couple of students on the other side of the room remained. With 5 minutes left, I stood up abruptly, crinkled my test into a ball, and threw it into the garbage. I was trying to be dramatic, and it worked. You've never heard such a stunned silence. I quickly grabbed a new test from the table. There were still a couple up there, missing students. With a shocked smile, the teacher said, "There's only 5 minutes left." I didn't care. I had spent the period memorizing the correct answers. With no time to spare, I answered all of the questions with the answers I had memorized. My friends told me later that everyone was staring. I didn't have the bandwidth to see it. With 10 seconds left, I turned in my test. The kids that had cheated off me looked pale and sickly, in a state of shock. They knew that I did them over. They just didn't know how badly. There was nothing they could say or do. I was one of 3 students that had an A in that class that semester. The average grade was in the lower 60s. That low grade for my classmates ended up knocking several kids out of the running for valedictorian several years later. Oddly, I was treated with noticeably more respect after this, and I wasn't cheated off of again, as far as I could tell. My husband will only eat kids' food, and it's ruining our relationship. My husband will only eat chicken nuggets, grilled cheese, and SpaghettiOs. That's it. When we go over to friends' places, he'll actually bring some SpaghettiOs to heat up in their microwave instead of eating anything else, even if our friends cooked a wonderful meal. If we go out somewhere to eat, he'll just order chicken nuggets off the kids' menu. If they don't have them, he just won't eat. If I try to cook literally anything except for one of his favorite food groups, he'll claim that he's allergic to some random ingredient instead of just outright saying he doesn't want to eat it. He'll then try to guilt me for forgetting his allergy. Spoiler, we've been to the doctor and he's not allergic to anything. My husband just turned 36 this month. His food habits were sort of cute and acceptable when we were both in college and eating like trash, but now I'm genuinely worried about his health. I also find myself avoiding any sort of dining situations with our friends, which is so much harder than it sounds. I've tried talking to him about his eating habits, and he just brushes me off. Since I don't cook his meals, the only victory I've had in this situation, he doesn't think I have the right to dictate what he can and can't eat. I'm not his mother, I'm his wife, but I just want my husband, the man I love, to be healthy. What do I do? Edit. We met when I was 19 in my sophomore year of college. We got married after graduation and moved in together shortly after. I didn't realize how strict his diet was until after we were married. It does sound like avoidant restrictive food intake disorder, and I agree that we do need counseling. There's a good counseling center nearby that I found last night that offers couples therapy. I want to try them first. I'm going to bring it up to him tonight and really try to explain how much this issue bothers me, and how at the very least we should discuss this with a counselor to find a place where we're both happy. We started dating when I was 19 and he was 32. Looking back, I definitely wasn't mature enough for a serious relationship, but he's always been thoughtful and understanding. Update. So I did it. I confronted him when he came home. I brought up this condition that he may have, which he seemed very open to. He seemed sort of relieved that it's a fairly common disorder. Some of you absolutely called it. He explained that he was extremely embarrassed and defensive when I had tried bringing the issue up with him before. When I explained how much it hurt when he shut down on me, he seemed genuinely surprised. He had no idea this issue was so important to me. I'll admit, I did cry a bit as I told him how worried I am about him eating himself into an early grave. His foods are not healthy, and by the end of our conversation, we both agreed to work together to overcome this. We'll be going to couples therapy this weekend at a local clinic. From there, we'll look into seeing a dietitian and a specialized counselor for his eating disorder. However, I called his mother while he was at work. I asked her about his eating habits as a kid, if there were any foods he sort of liked or anything he was really adverse to. I like the idea of making weekly meal prep together so that there's no surprises and we can collaborate on slowly introducing new foods. I was hoping this conversation would give me a good starting point when I talk with him. His mother is a very sweet woman and told me all of the foods that he would sort of eat and everything that he refused to. But she offhand mentioned that he has sensory processing issues. I asked her to elaborate and she did. It turns out he was diagnosed as a kid. He even went to an after-school physical therapist for many years to deal with sensory issues. He never told me any of this. When I spoke with him, I didn't know how to bring it up, so I just didn't. I'm so worried he'll deny it or get angry with me for speaking to his mother behind his back, since he obviously doesn't want me to know. I feel lied to and manipulated. I don't know how to bring this up with him because right now I'm just starting to process it. I'm angry that he never told me. His food issues are one thing, but not telling me about his diagnosis and seemingly intentionally keeping it from me, as he didn't bother to mention it today either, is another. It's more and more obvious that the man I married isn't who I think he is, and he's been lying to me for years. Right now, I'm telling myself to wait until counseling this weekend before confronting him. I don't want our conversation to be out of anger, but I also don't know how I could ever trust him again if he was so willing to keep such a big secret from me. Edit. I will be bringing this up in counseling, but I'm not going to discuss it with him until then, as I don't want to let my anger and hurt override my desire to help him. Update. I confronted him about my conversation with his mother the night before our counseling appointment. I made sure to bring it up casually so I didn't become angry again. He tried to brush me off at first, saying he didn't know what I was talking about. After talking for a bit, he eventually confessed that he not only knew of the diagnosis, but deliberately kept it from me. He said I was his dream and he didn't want to do anything to ruin our perfect relationship. I explained how him keeping this from me hurt me. I explained how I could have been there to support him instead of feeling like he needed to hide. He said he wasn't ashamed of it at all. He explained that it's just not something that affects him anymore. I again explained how it affects me, but he didn't seem to care. I didn't show him the post I made, but I used some of the advice from you all to try to explain why this does in fact still affect his life. He went to bed upset. The next day, he acted like nothing happened. We ate breakfast. He had chicken nuggets and went about our day. I kept expecting him to bring it up, but he never did. I didn't have the nerve to bring it up again until later at the marriage counselor's office. I spoke to the counselor so as to not seem accusing and explained that this was an issue that bothered me. My husband actually laughed and said he assumed I had gotten over it by now. When I explained that no, I really hadn't, he got angry with me and stormed out. The counselor tried to mediate, but it wasn't much use as my husband went to wait in the car. I was worried he'd leave without me, so I cut the meeting short. Our ride home was quiet. It wasn't until we got home that I said I was worried he was keeping other things from me too. He said he had been reading online about how some people can't understand his condition, and therefore he didn't think it was important to tell me about it. I said that was the weakest excuse I'd ever heard. He then said I'd leave him if I knew. I said if I left him, it would be because he's a liar. Apparently, he told all of our mutual friends that he had just been diagnosed recently, and I was considering leaving him because of it. Now many of our friends won't talk to me and act very cold when we run into each other in public. I don't know what else he's told them, but I think he told them that I cheated on him, as a fake account has been commenting horrible things about me on my Instagram. I keep reporting them, but it seems like another just pops up in its place. I haven't decided if divorce is the right path. I know he's been browsing angry, lonely, bitter male websites, so I'm even more convinced that this isn't the man that I've married. I'm mostly just confused. I've been avoiding him at home, and it feels like more of a roommate situation at this point. He doesn't really leave his den until it's time for work, and then he's back in the den until bed. It seems like everything is messed up just for me wanting to help. I don't even know what to expect at this point, much less how to move on from here. Update. I'm going to be discussing divorce with a lawyer. I don't know how to bring it up with him, but I'm past the point of caring. You're all right. I dread coming home to him in the evenings. I dread if he will miraculously want to talk. This isn't healthy for either of us. At the very least, some time apart would be good. That's all for now. I don't think I'll update past this, as I'm already uncomfortable with how quickly this blew up. But I will be living elsewhere by the end of the month. I read the first part, then stopped. All I saw was, I married someone who eats like they're a kid, and now I'm upset that they eat like a kid. Why do so many people think that their significant other is going to magically change at some point in the relationship? Am I the jerk for sending him a bill for $1,000 after him and his kid ate all of our food? I've been seeing Jack for 2 years now, but we live separately due to the kids and just wanting to make sure this is 100% all in before uprooting them. I have 2 sons, 13-year-old twins, and 1 daughter who's 11. He has 1 daughter who's 13. We do weekend stay-togethers twice a month so far, and there's never been any major issues, honestly. The girls have gotten into a few petty arguments, but other than that, no big problems. I spend around $1,000 a month in food, and that covers me and my kids, plus Jack and his daughter for the 2 visits a month. I do a lot of meal prep and couponing. Last month, my mother asked me and my kids to go to her place in Louisiana to help her move out of her home and into a 50-plus community. It made me feel more comfortable to have my house occupied in my absence to keep the dehumidifiers and everything running. Huge moisture issues here, and I don't want anything to mold or rust. So I asked Jack if he and his daughters wanted to stay at my place for 2 weeks in our absence to keep everything running smoothly. I gave it a 2 weeks time frame, but was unsure of how long it would actually take. I knew the drive alone would be 2 days there and 2 days back. He agreed. I did my monthly shop before leaving and spent $1,092. I told them that they could have some of my food when we were gone, so maybe this is my fault. But anyways, we got back 2 days ago, 4 days before the 2-week mark, and found my house in ruin practically. Dirty dishes on the counters and table, dirty clothes throughout the living room and bedrooms, mine and my daughter's where they slept. I kept my house clean, so this caused a lot of panic on my end. I grew up with hoarders, so I take pride in a clean home. But the one thing that truly tipped me over the edge was finding that they went through at least 90% of the food I bought before leaving in less than 2 weeks. We were left with a single pack of hamburger, all the veggies, and a few boxes of pasta. Jack started scrambling when we entered the home, saying, "Sorry, I was gonna clean before you got back, but I didn't expect you so soon." I just gave a hushed, "Please leave." He and his daughter left. But after giving it some thought, I told him he had to reimburse us the $1,000 worth of food that he and his daughter ate. I told him their intake was absolutely repulsive, that I said he could have some, not eat everything in the house and leave us with nothing. He said that he had allowed her to have some friends over, and they are a lot, but he shouldn't have to give me $1,000, given that I told him they could eat the food. That I have more than enough money, true, and he doesn't, also true. I still wouldn't be reimbursed, however. And yes, we split up. Am I the jerk? ETA. This may make me sound bad, but I wouldn't consider him house-sitting as doing me any favors. All he had to do was dump out the dehumidifier when it got full. I could have asked my neighbor to do that for $200. He and his daughter live in a small apartment, and coming to my house feels like a vacation to them. Their words, not mine. I have a 2-story home with 6 bedrooms on the beach, with a hot tub, a game room, cable, and high-speed internet. They were essentially getting a free vacation, and the only thing they had to do was dump the dehumidifier once a day. I more or less asked for the $1,000 based off the principle alone. I don't expect him to give me the money, but since he was not understanding my viewpoint, it was acceptable. I asked him for the $1,000 so he could open his eyes and understand how big of a deal it truly is. I did the big shop before leaving because I had work obligations scheduled for when I returned, and going out and doing a big shop in the middle of 4 showings and mandatory seminars would have been a nightmare. I didn't buy any fridge stuff outside of what I knew they would eat. Everything I bought was non-perishables, boxed dinners, and meat for the freezer. I didn't leave him over the food. I left him because after I tried explaining why this was wrong of him, he accused me of throwing my privilege and money in his face, knowing he's not as financially stable as me and making him and his daughter feel bad for doing nothing wrong. I've never thrown money in his face, never asked him for anything, and have paid for everything in the past 2 years because he couldn't. I helped him with multiple bills and things his daughter needed without question. So he made me feel stupid, and I won't tolerate it. Not the jerk. Where I live, pet and house sitting would run about $50 a day, and my sitter provides their own food, so it would cost me $550 for 11 days. To feed a family of 4 in an expensive market cost me $2,000 a month. So even if they had consumed half the food, that would be excessive in my opinion. There's no planet where it would be a reasonable expectation that it was free for all on the food worth $1,000. Even with friends over, how did they manage to eat that much food between 2 people in 11 days? If I saw my house in a complete pigsty when coming home early with the house sitter, I'd probably have a stroke. Not frantically clean it like they're a teenager 5 minutes before you get home. And the fact that this is not just some stranger you would expect the bare minimum from, but rather your longtime partner, who you'd think would have more care about your belongings and your feelings, makes it even worse. Girlfriend won't wear my shirts or jackets, but wears her ex's. So I've been dating my girlfriend for about 6 months, beneficial and everything. When we go back to her place, she puts on this shirt that's too big for her, or this black jacket when it's cold. I asked her where she got them from, and they were from an ex. I wasn't crazy about it, but whatever. When she comes over to my place though, or it's cold outside and she doesn't have a jacket, she doesn't want to wear mine. One time in particular, we're hanging out in my backyard, playing with my dog, and she was shivering. I asked her if she wanted a jacket, but she insisted on not wearing it. Later that same day, we went back to her place. She needed to run some errands and was going to go out again. As she was getting ready, she put on her ex's jacket. Am I overthinking this? I feel kind of hurt that she doesn't want to wear my shirts or jackets. Try not to focus on this, but I think it's weird and it would annoy me as well. Have you told her how you feel about this? That might help, and then drop it. Sorry, man. OP. I've tried to. I haven't straight up told her to stop wearing those shirts or jackets, but I asked her why she didn't want to wear mine. She simply said they're not her style, which feels like absolute BS, because the shirts from her ex have pit stains, and the jacket has a hole in the pocket and a zipper that gets stuck. Bro, that's a legit what gives moment. It's like, ex's shirt is comfy, but not yours? Nah, it's not about jackets, it's about feels. Maybe she's not connecting your stuff with coziness yet. Maybe her own hang-ups. Chill, don't overthink, but also communicate. Share your feels, ask about hers. There might be more to the jacket drama. If she's still rocking the ex's gear, it's worth a conversation. Keep it real, but keep it cool. Jackets aren't just fabric, they're feelings, man. OP. We were friends for under 2 years before we started dating. She was with her ex for less than a year. If that's the case, then it really is frustrating. Update. So I had a chat with my girlfriend this morning, and I basically told her that I was really bothered that she chooses her ex's clothing over mine. She said that they are just clothes, but I explained to her that the visual of me offering my jacket and then she rejects it and goes back to her place to use her ex's really bothered me. She took a second and was like, oh. I asked her how she would feel if I did something similar, and she realized she'd be bothered by it. She said my jackets are fine, just that she didn't like the color. She apologized and said that her shirts are just shirts, but she didn't realize how it looked from my point of view. She said she had an idea, so she drove us to a local clothing store. She bought me a jacket. Then she said that I better not complain when she uses this jacket once it smells like me. So yeah, everything turned out great. Edit. She also offered to toss her ex clothes away, but I told her she didn't need to. It wasn't the clothes themselves that bothered me, it was how she was acting with them when compared to mine. Am I the jerk for moving out after my parents told me to give my space to my brother and his family? I, 27 female, live with my parents. I have a job and I've been helping them by paying rent and buying groceries. My brother is married and they have 2 kids, a 2-year-old and a newborn. He recently lost his job and has asked my parents if he can move back in until he's back on his feet. My parents told me that I would need to move out of the basement suite in the house and into my mom's hobby room while my brother and his family stay with them. I did not agree and they said it was their house and their rules. I don't really own a lot of stuff. Everything in the suite belongs to them. I don't even own my bed. I packed up my clothes and my laptop and I went to work like usual. I went out of town for 14 days, then I got 7 days off. While I was at work, I booked an all-inclusive for my week off. It cost me less than rent and food at my parents' house. I told my parents my plans and they were cool with it. I started getting texts a few days ago asking where my rent and grocery money was. I said that I moved out, that if I wasn't living there and eating there, I wasn't going to be giving them money. They got really upset because they were counting on the money to help support my brother. They said that I moved out without giving notice. I said that they literally gave away my living space and that I didn't owe them anything if I wasn't there. I asked them how much they were charging my brother. I was giving them $1,800 a month, Canadian money, for rent and food, and I was only home a maximum of 14 days a month, usually less. My brother called me to say I was a jerk for not helping him out. I pointed out that he hadn't sent our parents money when he was employed. He said that he had a family to support, so he needed his money. He said if I came back, he and his family would move upstairs and I could have my space back. I had actually done the math though. I can stay at an all-inclusive which covers my room, maid service, food, alcohol, and entertainment for 2/3 of what I was paying my folks, and I don't have to live through Edmonton winters when I'm not working. I sent my parents $500 to help them with groceries, then I went to the beach. My parents, my brother, his wife, and a fair few of my other relatives are saying that I'm a jerk for abandoning them in a time of need. I think I'm not, and I shouldn't have to pay them anything. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. As you say, you were renting a space and they threw you out. In addition, it sounds like they were overcharging for the space, given that you found a space you like better for less money. Now, there's nothing wrong with helping your parents, so I wouldn't necessarily say your old rent was a problem, but it's crazy that they would kick you out and expect the rent and grocery money to remain unchanged. I can't tell if your parents are jerks or just oblivious. You make an excellent point about how your brother wasn't sending your parents money when he was employed. That makes it clear that your payments were for rent and food, not just because. Honestly, I think it's healthier for you to be on your own anyway. It's natural for kids to become more independent as they mature. Am I the jerk for expressing to my in-laws that I don't want to be their server for their family Christmas dinner? I'm a newlywed, and my in-laws are rolling into town for Christmas and staying at my husband and I's new house. They mentioned wanting to dine out for Christmas dinner, but I offered to whip up a home-cooked feast instead. Unfortunately, they turned down the offer. Now, here's where it gets interesting. I'm currently working as a server in our town after recently being laid off from my corporate job. Lucky for me, the restaurant is closed on Christmas Eve and Christmas. Well, turns out my mother-in-law had other plans. She called up my workplace without speaking to me beforehand and asked for me to be their server for their entire Christmas dinner. I found out through my husband that I'd be playing the role of their server for their festive family celebration, and my Christmas gift would be a sweet tip and takeout from my restaurant. Seems a bit odd, especially since our restaurant isn't even open on Christmas Eve or Christmas, and I'd be available to spend time with them on those days. They're scheduling this dinner before we close and making it their designated family celebration. I politely declined because let's be real, being excluded from Christmas dinner while working as their server, that's a hard pass for me. Unfortunately, I was told that I was being dramatic and there's nothing weird about me being their server for their family's Christmas dinner. Thoughts? Not the jerk. That's insulting and spiteful. We don't want you to cook or be a participant in our Christmas celebration, but we'd love to come to your workplace and have you serve us. So technically you're there with us, but you can't contribute to the conversation and are required to be polite because it's your job. And to say your gift is the tip and takeout? What on earth is this? I'd tell your boss that you request to not serve them or switch with a coworker or call out last minute or something. How does your husband not see the offense in their actions and isn't supporting you? OP. I felt like it was very offensive and couldn't really understand why they thought it was weird that I said no. If the roles were switched, my family would never do that to their son-in-law. I've served my husband, friends, and family in the past, but not on a holiday where I was being isolated. I feel like I'm being gaslit. Am I the jerk for having the power to my apartment disconnected after being asked to leave? 18 months ago, I moved into my best friend's apartment because she was struggling to pay rent. Having a pretty good income, I paid the majority of the bills, including all of the electric, heating, internet, food costs, and half the rent. I was paying roughly $1,800 per month while she was paying $500 per month. 10 months ago, my roommate's mother moved in with us and the financials didn't change. I was still paying half of rent, all of the electric, heating, food for 3 people and internet. Her mother paid nothing. My roommate met a guy about a month ago from the other side of the country, and this week they had planned on him coming to stay with us for 2 weeks. I was not happy about it. It was clear he didn't like me when we chatted on the phone. I digressed and said whatever. 24 hours before he was set to arrive, her mother started an argument with me. Her mother is irrational and rude. After a bit of attempting to appease her and it not working, she told me, "If you have a problem, you can leave." And I said, "When do you want me to leave?" And she said, "Right now." So I packed a bag and left. 2 hours later, the police showed up to my parents' house to speak to me about the happenings of the night. Her mom claimed that I made her feel scared and demanded a police officer escort me to retrieve my belongings from the apartment. The police told me I don't need them there to retrieve my stuff, and if they try to block me from getting my stuff, to call them. Last night, I brought a buddy and a truck, and in an hour and a half, we moved all of my belongings out from the apartment. Today, I called the electric company to have them cancel my electric as I no longer live there. The electric company let me know that they'll be shutting off the power to the apartment tomorrow and reminded me that if the pipes weren't full of antifreeze, they might burst. Am I the jerk for not giving my roommates a heads up that they will be shutting off the power? Also, I'm not on the lease. Not the jerk. You're not obligated to pay for anyone's power. Plus, her mom filed a false police report in order to try and get you arrested. I think the leniency ship has sailed. I agree. Not the jerk. They have every right to turn off the power the moment they leave. It's not their responsibility to pay for anyone else. Not the jerk. Just tread carefully. You turning up with a big strong man with a scary truck and turning off the water could be claimed as harassment and the situation twisted against you. In my jurisdiction, I would send a letter through a lawyer saying for them to not contact you at all, and in genuine cases where communication is needed, go through a lawyer and also notify them you removed yourself from the utilities as you no longer live there. Not the jerk, but you need to tell the landlord so that he can tell them. Let him know that you moved all of your belongings out of the apartment and you're giving up your tenancy. That way, he can't name you in the eviction that's going to happen. Karen is demanding I take care of her cat since she's pregnant. My wife, who's 28, and I, 36, are expecting our first baby. 3 years ago, my wife decided she desperately wanted a cat. I can't stand cats and all animals that stay in the house, really, so I was against it. She wouldn't stop talking about it, so finally we made a deal that she could get a cat, but it would be her responsibility, and I wouldn't have anything to do with it, and she agreed. She stuck to her word and I stuck to mine. I mostly ignore the cat. Now she's pregnant and asked me if I can scoop the litter until she gives birth because of toxoplasmosis. But I looked it up, and as long as she wears gloves and washes her hands, she should be good. So I told her absolutely not. She wasn't happy, but I reminded her of our agreement. When we got the cat, I told her that it was her responsibility, and if she didn't want to take care of it anymore with the new baby coming, we can get rid of it and find it a new home. She said no and has been scooping the litter. Her sister was over and saw her doing this and flipped out at me, telling me how dangerous it is. But of course, her sister is going to be on her side and overreact. I never wanted the cat, so I don't see how I'm in the wrong. You're the jerk. Even if she finds some safe ways to do it, it's still recommended that pregnant women don't change a cat's litter box. You're really going to stick to this agreement for your wife and baby's health? You know it's just temporary. You know she'll go back to changing the litter box once she has the baby. But why risk your baby's health by the possibility of her getting toxoplasmosis? Just to stick it to her? To have a reason to get rid of your wife's cat? You're the jerk. The 5 years my husband and I have been together, I have done the litter. As soon as I popped positive, he took over the chore immediately. Not just for the toxins, but the smell makes me sick too. Is it really that hard to be a good husband? Right now, you sound like you suck. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his wife? Please let us know. My half-siblings feel left out, and I don't care. My parents were married and had me, I'm 16 female, and my brother, 18 male. My dad had an affair with Kate, and Mom and him divorced. Ellie, 11, was the result of the affair, and Tommy, who's 9, was born when Dad married Kate. A year later, Kate passed away. My dad's family rallied around my half-siblings and tried to make up for the loss of their mother. My mom shared custody of me and my brother with my dad. He had asked her to include Ellie and Tommy in her life after Kate had passed, and even told my brother and I a few times that they would be coming to Mom's with us, and she'd be their mom now too. My mom never did take Ellie or Tommy into her home. I don't even think she's ever interacted with them. When I look back at moments where everyone was present, she was always one side with her family, and Dad was another with his and my half-siblings. Ellie and Tommy, as they have gotten bigger, have expressed all the emotions you might when you don't have a mom, but you sometimes share a home with kids who do. They get jealous, sad, frustrated. They've asked us to share Mom with them. They've wanted to come along when they hear Mom is taking us on vacation. They've wanted us all to spend Christmas together. All kinds of stuff. They also have just Dad's side of the family, since none of Kate's want to be in their lives. But we have both sets of grandparents and aunts and uncles involved in our lives. A few times over the years, Dad or my grandma or uncle have asked me if I don't dislike that Mom wouldn't open her heart to kids who are part of my family. I always said no, because they are not her kids, and so it doesn't make sense to me that she would. My dad wanted to try and get my half-siblings' wish to come true for Christmas, where we'd all get together, which would include my brother and I and our mom. Mom said no. She did not engage with him beyond her no. Ellie and Dad then tried to get me to talk Mom around, and I said no, and I told them I did not want to talk her around. Ellie got upset after hearing that and left. Dad and my grandparents then cornered me later and asked me how can I say that when I know Ellie and Tommy feel left out and that they crave mothering. I told them I don't care if they feel left out because it's not my mom's job to mother them, and I would never expect her to do it, and since one can't be fixed without the other thing happening, like them feeling left out can't be fixed unless they feel like they now have a mom and my mom, then I realized it's not going to happen. They told me my mom could and should have love for them as her children's siblings. I told them Dad should have thought about that before he cheated on her and got another woman pregnant while he was still married to my mom. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. As much as I feel sorry for these kids, your mom shouldn't be pressured to mother them precisely because they are the result of the affair. If your dad is so desperate for them to have a mom, he should remarry. You're the jerk, because this is a case where you're right on the fact that it's not your mom's job, but you're a jerk for the utter lack of empathy towards your much younger half-siblings. They didn't ask to be a product of an affair. They didn't ask for their mom to pass young. Your dad is a mega jerk for sticking you in between your siblings and his ex-wife, but do remember that they're innocent in this before saying, I don't care about them. My wife kept interrupting my meetings, so I no longer work from home. I work in the medical field. I often discuss confidential information with clients and doctors. I'm not a doctor myself. In July of this year, I finally had an opportunity for employment that would give me the option of working from home. I sat down with my wife and explained that this was a good thing for us. I would be home 3 more days every week. I would still be going into the office on Tuesday and Thursday, but the other days I could skip out on the commute. I could help with my daughter in the morning and throughout the day. I could help with supper. I could see my 4-year-old daughter more. Not all the time, of course. I was still going to be working, but our car would be home 3 extra days. My wife could take our car and drop off our daughter with our parents or a sitter if she needed. We talked to my daughter and explained that even though I was home, I could not spend all of my time with her. I explained that if the door was closed, she needed to knock quietly and ask permission to come in, and to accept it if the answer was no. My daughter understood. My wife did not. She was constantly coming into the office when I was in meetings. I had to excuse myself to get her out of the room. More than once, I saw my daughter trying to keep her out of my room. One time, my wife was trying to carry my daughter into the room, and my kid was holding onto the door jamb so she didn't get in trouble for coming in when the door was closed. I finally put a lock on the door. She said she didn't like being locked out of a room in her house. I explained that the door being closed and a sign saying that I was in a meeting didn't stop her. She finally got the point, until this Thanksgiving. I was working on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and she needed to go buy something for our meal the next day. And for some reason, she could not take our daughter with her, or drop her off with either set of grandparents, or a drop-in daycare where we have a spot. She instead decided to shake my locked door and knock until I answered. I muted my meeting, opened the door, and told her to leave me alone until the end of the day. She left and texted that my daughter was watching TV in the other room. I talked to my boss, and I went back to work at my workplace starting last week. I hate being away from my daughter and my wife. My wife hates being limited to using Uber on the days that I'm not there, or depending on our parents. Now she's mad at me for going back to the office. I told her that it's her fault for not understanding that I was working from home, not just playing video games in my home office. I feel like a jerk, and she says I am. But I am the sole breadwinner for our family. If I got laid off because of her, we would be in financial hardship. Not the jerk. Working from home is work, not just being home during work hours. Exactly. OP's wife is definitely the jerk. Her husband set clear boundaries, not the jerk. You explained it so clearly that a 4-year-old could understand it. When there is a very real chance of legal repercussions from a privacy breach due to your wife's negligent behavior, she left you no choice. You have to protect the income for your family, so I don't see how working at home was still a viable option. And it really sucks because it deprives you and your daughter of extra time together. Am I the jerk for not going to my sister's child-free wedding? My sister is getting married next month to my best friend. She always wanted a nice snow wedding in the cabins we used to go to when we were in middle school. Everything was going fine until she told me that it was a child-free wedding. Now, that would be fine with my wife and I because we would just drop off my son and daughter at my wife's parents or with their godparents. But my sister had asked them to be their ring bearer and the flower girl. Apparently, they want the kids to perform their duties at the wedding, but then not attend the reception. That means either my wife or I will have to be there with them alone in the cabin while everyone else is partying it up. But wait, I'm the best man and will be conducting the reception, so it's just going to be my wife. What about food? My mom will give my wife 20 minutes to come in, grab some plates with food, and come back because the mother of the bride can't be missing for too long. So they expect me to abandon my wife and our kids, who are under the age of 7, in a tiny cabin that is not childproof, where the source of heat is a fireplace and there's barely any cell signal. This is the day after driving for 7 hours with said kids. Not only do I think this is not a safe idea, considering it would be in the middle of winter, my wife has never even been to these cabins and the lack of ability to properly communicate, but also I think it's incredibly rude to invite someone to a destination wedding where they are only allowed to attend the wedding. Although my wife says she can manage, she's really gullible sometimes and is a little bit of a people pleaser. I refuse. She's not being treated like a guest, but as the babysitter for the ring bearer and flower girl. I tried to talk to my sister and the jerk I call my best friend, who always preaches about me being there for friends, loyalty and whatnot, but they are not conceding or willing to compromise. I asked if my kids could attend until the toasts, games, and food. Then all 4 of us would retire to the cabin and let them party. No. If we could go completely child-free and leave the kids behind. No. If I just attend the wedding and retire to the cabin after the wedding. No. My sister is against all of these ideas, while the jerk has taken a temporary vow of silence. So I'm upset and said I'm not coming, which in turn began the messages and calls from everyone. My family, the groom's family, and their and our friends. My wife has openly said that she can manage this, but I know that's to keep the peace. My kids are also upset because before asking us, my sister and the jerk asked them first to participate in the wedding, and they were really excited because they're close with both of them. With all of these calls and messages, I feel I'm going crazy, and maybe I am the jerk instead. So, am I the jerk? Not the jerk. If she wants child-free, then she does not need your kids as props. As a parent, you have the right to not attend a child-free wedding without guilt. Tell her she should hire some local kids for the gig. Am I the jerk for refusing to let my stepdaughter live with us? I, 28 female, have been married to my husband who's 42 for 2 years, together for 4. He has 3 kids from a previous marriage, Lucas who's 18, Lily who's 16, and Kayla who's 13. While I don't dislike his kids, I don't want kids of my own, and I made this very clear to him when we dated. This wasn't an issue because he only gets his kids for 1 weekend a month because they live far away from us. I made it very clear that I didn't want to take care of his kids apart from the occasional weekend. For the past 4 years, I've tried my best to be a good stepmother, and I've built a good relationship with my stepson Lucas and stepdaughter Kayla, but I'm unable to build a relationship with Lily. I've tried to take her out for girls' days, shopping sprees, and fun outings. She either refuses to go or complains the whole time. The last straw was when I got her something from her wish list last Christmas, a bracelet that she wanted, and she threw it away, saying that I got her the wrong one and I was too poor to understand the difference. She then accused me of only marrying her dad for his money. I usually don't let her comments get to me, but this was the last straw. After this, I stopped trying to interact with her and maintained my distance. The truth is, I didn't marry my husband for his money. We both work in high-paying tech jobs, but I inherited a lot from my parents. I even agreed to pay for part of Lucas' tuition. Anyways, Lily and Kayla want to move to a better school next year. The school is closer to our home than their mother's, so my husband said that they should live with us. I don't mind living with Kayla, but I don't want to be around Lily. My husband goes to work 4 days a week while I work from home, so I'll constantly have to be around Lily, and I refuse to do that. I don't mind being around Kayla, but not Lily. I told my husband all of this, and he called me a jerk, and we've been fighting ever since. He says I need to step up as a stepmother, and I can't let a teenager get to me. Lily has been in tears, saying it's not fair that I want Kayla but not her, and her mother is on her side. So, am I the jerk? Edit. To all the people saying I signed up for this when I married a man with kids, my husband led me to believe that he never wanted full custody of them, and if anything were to happen to their mother, their aunt would get custody. He has never been close to his kids and has said that he regrets having them. Ouch. On the weekends they were with us, I spent more time with them than he did. His reaction has me blindsided. I have suggested therapy and family therapy, but my husband is very against it, so that's not an option. I've asked my husband to talk to Lily, but he doesn't want to get involved. If her behavior changes, even a little, I have no problem letting her live with us. But the fact that my husband and his ex refuse to talk to her about her behavior and the fact that I need to be around her all day is terrifying to me. Both of us come from a culture where it's normal to marry a man older and better settled, so our age gap didn't come as a shock to anyone. At the time of his first marriage, he was 23 while his ex was 18. Edit 2. My husband leaves for work at 8 a.m. and comes home at 8 p.m. The kids are in school from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., so I have to parent them alone from 3-ish to 8, and that's not something I want to do. When we got married, I said I wouldn't take on any parenting responsibilities, and I stand by it. He refuses to work from home like me or get home sooner. Edit 3. I didn't tell Lily or Kayla any of this. I told my husband, who told his ex, who told the kids. This was meant to be an adult conversation. I know how this information could hurt Lily. And for people saying I shouldn't have married a man with kids, I was led to believe by my family that he was the best I would get due to my age. Most women in my community are married by 21. We got to know each other and I fell in love with him, and he assured me he would support my career and I wouldn't have to take the typical role of a mother. I knew that if I didn't get married soon, my family would isolate me. I was coerced by my family and lied to by my husband. Some people are saying I'm not the jerk, others are saying I am. It's quite obvious that those saying I'm the jerk don't know much about other cultures. In my culture, and actually most cultures outside of the US and some European countries, kids or teenagers don't get to say whatever they want because they're hormonal or whatever. Not the jerk. You made your position known and your husband is attempting to strong-arm you and override it in your shared home. You might consider taking some of your hard-earned money and renting an apartment to work from and live in, not out of anger or revenge, but out of practicality. Yup, pack your bags, find alternative accommodation for yourself, leave, and start the divorce process. You will never be comfortable in this marriage. You're the jerk. Things change. The kids aren't going to magically disappear just because you or your husband decide you don't want them around. My wish for 2024 is for people to stop marrying parents if they don't want to deal with the kids. You were a fool to think that this was never a possibility. You married a man who has kids, so living with them was always a possibility. Yes, Lily needs to learn respect, but you need to accept that his kids will always be a part of your life. Your edits make me lean towards everyone sucks here because of your husband's attitude towards the issue. You're still not innocent though. You married a man knowing that he had 3 kids. Regardless of how often or not he had them, things can change at the drop of a hat. If their mom got sick, if there were issues at home, etc., you'd have to take them in. You can't pick and choose which kids you want there just because a teenager doesn't like you. They are hormonal at that age, going through so many changes, not to mention she'll probably be confused at the big age gap between you and her dad. The kid has every right to be upset that you're picking one over the other. I understand your reasons, but these are kids. He has every right to want his kids to live with him. In this scenario, you're the jerk. I do understand where you're coming from, but as a parent, I would put my kids before anyone, even my partner. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk or not? Please let us know. I don't think people will ever learn to stop marrying parents if you don't want their kids to live with you. Am I the jerk for telling my daughter, who's facing homelessness, that only her and the baby can move in with me, but not her husband? The husband has lived in their apartment for a number of years. The owners recently sold it and the new ones are moving in, so my daughter and her husband have to move. The problem is, rent has gone up dramatically. The rent they're paying is $1,100 for a 1-bedroom, which I thought was a lot. But now that I'm trying to help them find a place, most are now going for around $2,000 a month or more. They can't afford that. My daughter knows that she is always welcome at my house. Granted, a baby complicates things. I wasn't happy about her having a baby. She's young, she just turned 22, but I would never deny her housing. However, I can't stand her husband. Let's just call him Aaron. I wouldn't invite Aaron over for dinner, let alone let him live with me. Aaron's in his mid-30s, criminal history, hair-trigger temper, chronically immature, and has one heck of a jealousy and possessive streak that has caused strain in their relationship, which I obviously do not approve of. Honestly, when she told me that she was pregnant, I finally thought we'd get rid of Aaron. I genuinely thought he's exactly the kind of man to ditch. They'd been on and off over and over since she was about 18 or 19. Alas, if anything, it made him cling to her tighter. They had a very rushed wedding, and this is their longest stint together without any breakups. Just over a year. There's still been the fair share of dramatics, of course, but I'm surprised they made it this far. Even so, I simply don't want to live with Aaron. I don't like him. I don't want him around me. I'd go above and beyond for my daughter and the baby. They can stay as long as they need, but not him. Obviously, this has created a rift between my daughter and I. She doesn't want to live separately from Aaron. I told her that she needs to figure out alternative arrangements. Well, their move-out date is rapidly approaching, the 15th of December, and they've still not been able to find a place, and she's panicking. She's been begging me to let them stay with me. I reiterated my terms. Aaron simply cannot stay here. This led to a lot of tears and some angry words, namely me being a jerk. I can genuinely see why she might think that, but I also have to think about myself and my own sanity. Update. I do believe because of my anger and frustration, I exaggerated Aaron's flaws in my post. Has he struggled with his temper? Yes, but I should not have described it as hair trigger. I've never thought of him as dangerous. I've never feared for my daughter's safety nor my own. I also described him as jealous and possessive, and while I do see some of those tendencies, he's never tried to restrict her movements or isolate her. She's always dealt with a tremendous amount of anxiety, especially when it comes to social situations. As much as I loathe to admit it, in this regard, he's been a wonderful cheerleader. He could keep her at home where she feels most secure, but he truly does encourage her to get out and be adventurous. As for his criminal history, it's all below the age of 24. He hasn't been in trouble with the law since. It still makes me uncomfortable, but I can admit that he's been stable. In all the time I've known him, he's had no issues holding down a job, paying his rent, etc. What bothers me the most is the age gap. I can't explain that away or change it. It is what it is. It makes me uncomfortable. Anyways, if posting here has shown me anything, it's that Aaron's not nearly as bad as I had built him up in my mind. So many people here are imagining he's a monster. He's just a guy. He means well and he's trying. He's still irritating, opinionated, immature, and talks too much. But he does try his best to take care of my daughter. He is a capable present father and loves being one. They are married and he has family. Lots of people have stated they are a unit. They come together or not at all. I've started to agree. It's for that reason I've decided to allow them all to stay with me while they figure things out. If she's adult enough to get pregnant and get married, she's also adult enough to figure things out. Either she accepts your terms, it's your house, or they can stay with friends or his family. Can't have it both ways. Not the jerk. OP. Unfortunately, that's not really how things work. I realize that even adults need help from time to time, sometimes a lot of help, and that's okay. Heck, I need help occasionally too. For my own sanity, my helpfulness has its own limits, and I hope my daughter will eventually understand this. I realize they're in a tough spot. The vast majority of her friends live at home still, and the ones that don't live with multiple roommates and aren't in a position to help. Aaron, from what I've gathered, doesn't really have family beyond a brother in another province. I know he's done a lot of work on himself, so says my daughter, and has distanced himself a great deal from his former friends. I realize their options are extremely limited, but like I said, my ability to help has its limits. Not the jerk. It's your house and your life. You're being very generous in your offer. I get that she doesn't want to be separated from her husband, but just because he's working on himself doesn't wash away all of the hurt that he's caused. Stand strong and do not be guilted into this. Am I the jerk for going on a pre-planned and paid-for vacation after my boyfriend's father passed? My boyfriend, who's 30, and I, 28 female, have been dating for 4 years and have been living together for the past 18 months. Our lease is up at the end of this month, and we were hoping to have purchased a house by now, but that didn't happen. So we decided to just renew our lease and keep the house hunt going. I've also had a very stressful year career-wise, so this fall a few friends and I booked a girls' trip to Mexico for a yoga and wellness retreat. We're leaving next Thursday, and we're all really looking forward to it. This week, before Thanksgiving, my boyfriend's dad unexpectedly passed away. My boyfriend immediately flew out to be with his mom and siblings. He ended up staying there for Thanksgiving instead of coming home, which I completely understood. Due to the holiday and scheduling conflicts with other relatives, the funeral wasn't scheduled until the Friday after I leave for my trip. When he told me the date of the funeral, I reminded him that I would be gone. He asked me if there was any way I could reschedule the trip or get a refund, and I told him I would look into it. But the trip was booked through a group rate and was 100% non-refundable, and none of my friends wanted to go through the hassle of rescheduling, which sucks, but I get it. I saved a lot of money to take this trip and really needed the escape, and if I cancel, I don't get the money back at all. I explained all of this to my boyfriend, and he asked me what I was going to do. I apologized and told him that I think I'm going to go on the trip because I don't want that money to go away for nothing. All of this over the phone because he was still with his family and told me we would talk more when he got back. When he came home, we talked more about it, and I apologized so many times when I was explaining why I still was going on the trip. He seemed to understand and told me it was fine. But when I asked him when we were going to sign the papers to renew our lease, because I want that done before I leave, he said he's not doing that anymore. He said that he came back to figure some things out at work, and then he's flying back for the funeral and will be staying with his mom while they figure some things out. I asked him why he didn't talk to me about this first, and he said that he's talking to me about it right now. He said his mom needs help, so he's going to stay with her. I asked him what am I supposed to do about a place to live, and he told me to figure it out with my friends on our vacation. I told him that he's putting me in a bad situation and that he seemed fine with me going on the trip and missing the funeral. He said he wasn't going to beg me to cancel my trip and that I made that decision on my own, so he's making this decision on his own. I told him he's being a jerk and he should have talked to me about this first. He said I'm the one who prioritized drinking on a beach over being at his dad's funeral, so if anyone is a jerk here, it's me. You're the jerk. Your partner of 4 years lost their parent, and you think it's more important to go on a vacation? You showed your priorities. They aren't your relationship. I, 28 male, told my parents and siblings the truth, and I think it broke them. I, 28 male, had dinner over at my parents' house a week ago. At some point during the night, my mother started questioning me as to why I kicked my sister, who's 21, out of my house. She already knows the reasons to why, but she kept asking me to give her another chance. My father asked me to take on my sister. Originally, this was great as I travel a lot for work, so I had someone to take care of the house in my absence. She would effectively have lived alone as I am sometimes away 2 to 3 weeks out of a month. The only condition I put on her living with me was that she takes care of the house in my absence and cleans up after herself. A week after she moved in, I left for 3 weeks, and when I came back, the house was a mess. No clean cutlery, dishes, nothing. The pizza box and plates were still in the same position as when I left the house 3 weeks ago, and she was sitting on the couch with 6 plates of uneaten food stacked on each other. Some had started to grow mold. I asked her what's going on with the house, and she told me it's my house, my job to clean up. Why should she clean up? I told her, you're a grown woman. I never expected the house to be sparkling when I returned, but at least in the same condition as it was when I left. It wouldn't have hurt her to just clean up after herself. And again, she said, "My house, my responsibilities." I just saw red. I snapped and told her to get her crap and get out of my house. And she laughed at me and said, "This is your home, now get to cleaning." Everything was funny to her until I started to throw her crap outside. She started with the waterworks, and when that didn't work, she called my parents. I got a call from my father, and he asked what's going on, so I told him. I hung up the phone and sent him pictures of my house. He didn't even respond, only arrived 25 minutes later to pick up my sister, and he apologized to me. The story above was just my breaking point, but a lot of crap other than this has happened over the years. I'm always the last resort. Any issues someone has, they come to me. If someone needs money, I'm the one they can call. If they need a place to stay, they show up at my house. They need help with something, I'm the one. I've always had to sit on the back burner and just be the support for everyone in their time of need. And when I needed them, they weren't there, and I was told to be a man and sort it out. My parents have been great to my younger siblings, 4 kids in total. They have all stayed with me in the past, as well as rent-free with no contributions at all. I didn't have a childhood. I became the 3rd parent in the household. Everything regarding my siblings fell on me. If I had to write down everything I have done or been through for my siblings and parents, I'd be writing this post for days. I don't really blame my parents, as circumstances were a lot different from when I was a kid to my siblings. But the difference in the way we were all raised is evident. My siblings are entitled jerks, and it's my parents' fault for how they raised them. After my mom's constant questions, I snapped when she said I'm being heartless. I just unleashed everything onto them. I was ranting for about 30 minutes while they sat there in silence with their eyes getting bigger as the minutes passed. I finished with them, "I'm just tired of all this crap. I'm the backup for everyone in this family." I can see the pain on my parents' faces as they can't even look me in the eyes anymore. Every time I miss a phone call from one of them, my phone blows up as they think that I did something. I fell asleep on the couch yesterday as I worked 36 hours straight and I was tired. During my sleep, my father tried to call me, and as I was asleep, I didn't answer his calls. I got woken up as the police kicked down my door when my parents showed up at my house after I didn't answer them, and they saw me laying on the couch. The knocking and banging didn't wake me up. That was the first time I saw my father cry, as they thought that I had done something I shouldn't have. I think I broke my parents, as my youngest sister told me that they just exist in their house and don't even talk to each other anymore. The house is cold, and she can hear both my parents just burst out crying sometimes, especially during the night. I just want to know if there's some way that I can move on with this. You don't want to lose access to your younger siblings, understandable, but you can still say no. No, I will not loan you money. No, I will not give you money. I will not do that for you. You cannot live with me. People can have relationships with each other that are not conditional or transactional. Tell them what behaviors from them you will and will not accept in the relationship and stick to it. Ex-fiancée of 8 years broke up with me via text 3 years ago. Now she's trying to rejoin our circle of mutual friends. Me and a girl who I'll just call Jessica were a couple for 8 years and were engaged for 3 years. I met her through a mutual friend in my group of friends. We ended up hitting it off pretty quickly as our dorky and nerdy hobbies aligned really well. I personally fully expected to marry her and spend the rest of my life with her. In early 2016, her job offered her an amazing opportunity to temporarily work 4 months in the company's satellite office in New Zealand. She was an environmental engineer, to temporarily manage and lead a new team. It was very sudden, and I was not really happy with the idea, but she really wanted this chance and opportunity, so off she went. I flew out to visit her about 2 months after. Only when I arrived at the airport, I got a text message from her. The message was short and more or less consisted of, she was sorry, but after thinking it through, she thinks it would be best if we went our separate ways from now on. She then completely blocked me on almost every single form of social media, cell phone, etc. I was confused, devastated, and became an absolute wreck. I remember completely breaking down at the airport. I spent the next 4 days living at a motel, basically trying to get into contact with her in any shape or form. She had apparently blocked every one of our circle of friends. Even her close friends from our circle of friends were shocked, confused, and basically lost. Even her parents were extremely confused when I called them. Her dad, who I was extremely close with, we coached Pee-wee hockey together and played a lot of beer league for hockey together, refused to believe it at first. I was a mess for a solid year, but my close circle of friends managed to drag me out of my hole along with some therapy. Her best friends became close friends to me. About a year ago, she invited some of her old close friends to her wedding among a bunch of other people from our group. No one went, and I quickly found out, which hurt me even more. Over a year ago, I started dating one of her old friends, as me and her had gotten close over the last 2 years or so. She felt quite hurt when Jessica basically ghosted her. Unfortunately, there was some awkwardness because she fully knew I was not fully over my ex, but she has been a supportive and amazing person, and I'm extremely happy with her. Life was going great for me. Then in December, Jessica apparently moved back home after divorcing a few months after getting married. I don't know much, and I don't want to know. However, she's making this hugely concentrated effort to reconnect with people in our old friend group, which is resulting in some very conflicted feelings for people. Last week, I found out that Jessica and some of my friends have started playing Dungeons & Dragons, which frankly made me feel horrible. Part of me just wants to move on from this, but I'm struggling hard. While my significant other has been extremely supportive, I just feel numb and don't really know what to do. Today, Jessica sent me a long Facebook message basically apologizing for what she did and asking to be friends. I didn't respond and I blocked her. I told my significant other and I just felt like I was going to break down. Right now, my significant other is saying that she's worried about me and keeps asking me what I want to do. My significant other confessed that Jessica had sent her a similar message a few weeks ago and she told her off. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I can't order my friends to not be friends with her. I just feel like a mess and I'm struggling with this as I feel like I'm a teenager dealing with stupid drama again. Update. I sat down with my significant other and I explained to her how awesome she is, and I explained how I don't have any romantic feelings for my ex at all. All I really have is a lot of painful and hurtful memories. I also asked her what should I do, and she suggested that I respond and tell her off to get closer to some degree. So I did that. I told her I don't want to be friends anymore. I want nothing to do with her. I explained how badly she hurt me. I'm happy right now, and I just want her to leave me and my friends alone. She took it well, apologized one more time, and then basically said goodbye forever. That was honestly a huge load off my shoulders. I then went and told our group of friends and explained how much she hurt me and how I'd rather we not start adding her to our gaming sessions. Unfortunately, I ended up losing a bunch of friends and have irreparably caused a lot of damage to our friend group. Many of them sided with me, but a bunch of them took the stance of, "You have no right to tell me who I can be friends with," among other complaints. A few people were very angry and told me I'm being a terrible person as my ex is trying to repent and deal with pain of her divorce. It was confusing and frankly just made everything more of a mess. In the end, a bunch of us ended up getting booted out of our friend group. I don't really know what's going to happen, but it really hurt me to see some people that I've known for years and even helped me get through it the first time suddenly take her side. Am I the jerk for refusing to be my friend's alibi so he can cheat on his girlfriend? I, 21 male, have known my friend Matt, who's 21, since we started college. We're in the same program and have been roommates since day one. Overall, I'd say Matt is a great guy. However, he has a terrible tendency to cheat. Throughout college, I think Matt had 5 to 7 different girlfriends, and each of those relationships ended because he would cheat. Back in January, he started dating his current girlfriend, Jen, who's 21, and has been with her far longer than any of the previous relationships. From my interactions with Jen, I know she's a wonderful person. She's very polite, beautiful, and clearly devoted to Matt. For the past few weeks, Matt has also developed a close relationship with his anatomy lab partner, Cindy, who's 21. It's become pretty clear to me and my other housemates, Kyle, Robert, and Omar, that there is some romantic relationship between them. We've even met Cindy as she came by our house a few times. Long story short, Matt told me and the other guys that things between him and Cindy are moving fairly quickly and that Jen is completely in the dark about this. He told us that, for the foreseeable future, he'll be spending a few nights hanging out at Cindy's place. Here's the issue. Jen and her roommates don't live that far from us, about a 7-minute walk, so there's a good chance she'll come by looking for him, according to Matt. Therefore, he wants us all to make excuses for his absence and potentially reassure Jen that he isn't up to anything bad. Kyle and Robert are fully on board with this as they consider it the bro code. Omar is fully against this, and while he has not said he'd tell Jen, he has refused to lie for Matt and has been urging him to end things with Cindy. I would say I'm more neutral. I don't think what Matt's doing is appropriate, but I don't think it's my place to tell Matt how to manage his relationships. I tell him that while I wouldn't seek Jen out and tell her what's going on, I wouldn't lie to her either about where he is, and instead just say that I don't know. We all argued about this for a while, and the general gist of things is that Kyle, Robert, and Matt all think I'm being a bit of a jerk for not being more cooperative. Aside from this, I don't think there's really much I can do. Moving somewhere else is both economically and logistically unfeasible, so I think trying to avoid stirring the pot is my best bet. Am I the jerk? Update. I'll start by saying that Jen found out last night. Like Matt predicted, she came over to our house Tuesday evening. I saw her pretty quickly since I was also coming back from buying some food. She asked me if I knew where Matt was, and I said I didn't know, because I genuinely didn't at that time. She mentioned how he wasn't responding to her texts and that she was worried about him, and I felt pretty bad hearing that. Kyle, who was inside, came out at this point and said that Matt was in his anatomy lab and then reassured her that he'd contact her once he was finished. She didn't seem entirely satisfied with that answer, but thanked us anyway and left. When she was gone, Kyle told me that Matt was actually on a date with Cindy. Since Matt sometimes brings Cindy over, he'll text the house group chat before they come over to ensure that Jen isn't around. He did this on Tuesday night, and Kyle did alert him that Jen had stopped by looking for him, so he stayed over with Cindy on Tuesday night. Wednesday evening, only Omar and I are home. Kyle was with his own girlfriend, and Robert had an exam. Around 7 p.m., we got a text on the group chat from Matt saying he plans on bringing Cindy over around 8:30, and he asked if Jen came by. I told him that I hadn't seen her, and things went on as usual. I'll add that Omar has refused to respond to these specific text messages from Matt, so there was an expectation on me to clarify if Jen was here or not. A little after 8 p.m., Jen comes by with one of her friends, Carly, who's 21. They asked us where Matt was, since Jen hadn't been seeing him a lot lately. Before I could even say anything, Omar told them to come back after 8:30 and Matt should be home. They left, and I did argue with Omar about his decision to tell them to come back, since it was inevitably going to cause drama, but he didn't care. I did text Matt and told him about Jen potentially returning, but since he was driving, he didn't read the message. At this stage, I gave up trying to contact Matt and went up to my room. A little after 8:30, Matt walked in with Cindy, and not long afterward, Jen and Carly returned. Omar let them in. Long story short, there was a lot of Jen yelling and Matt lying and apologizing. I didn't bother coming down since I could hear it all from my room. After about 10 minutes of this, Jen and Carly left. Matt sent Cindy home after this and was pretty upset at what happened. I reminded him that I sent him text messages, which he now saw, and Omar played dumb, acting like he didn't see Matt's message about him asking if Jen was home, but confirmed to him that he had told Jen to come back after the first time she came because he didn't think Matt was dumb enough to go out with Cindy 2 nights back to back. Robert and Kyle came home after this point, and I filled them in on what happened. There was definitely some tension in the house this morning, as Matt thinks this all could have been avoided had Omar been more helpful. He also partially blames Cindy for wanting to come over more often. Overall, Matt doesn't really seem to care that Jen found out and broke things off with him. He said that he'll try apologizing one more time, as he does prefer Jen to Cindy, and if she doesn't accept, he'll leave things as they are. As for Cindy, Matt has already told Kyle, Robert, and me this morning that he plans on ending things with her after the December exam season. He says that he wants to be single again by New Year's so he can have a fresh start. Kyle and Robert think this is pretty hilarious, considering how much trouble he got into to be with her. Things have ended more smoothly than I thought, and I've made it abundantly clear to Matt to keep me out of his relationships from now on. I have also asked Carly how Jen was holding up this morning as we share class together. As expected, Jen was very upset about the entire ordeal, and she and her friends consider everyone at our house, aside from Omar, to be complicit and awful. Kyle texted the group chat, his girlfriend knows, and she isn't happy. My Karen daughter told me to not expect her to take care of me in my old age, so now I'm cutting her off financially. I'm 44, male. My daughter, who's 23, doesn't get along with my wife. We've been married for 2 years now. My wife and I got together when she was at college. My ex-wife doesn't like her, and I have a feeling that's the biggest part of it. My daughter can't really seem to point to what she doesn't like, just general, "She's stuck up," or "She always has an attitude." My daughter recently graduated, and we've been helping her pay bills here and there as she looked for a job in her field. We usually give her around $1,000 a month. Recently, she was at our house, and her and my wife got into an argument over my daughter leaving a mess in the kitchen. As I tried to defuse things, my daughter started screaming that I was a jerk for siding with my wife and that she was going to remember this when I'm older and I need her. This floored me. At this point, I just walked away. After giving it some thought, I realized that I don't want my future to be in the hands of someone else, especially someone who intends to lord that over me. I would never place the expectation on her to take care of me, but I do feel like since she has made it clear that any support from her in my old age would come with strings, it makes more sense to invest that money so that my later years will be paid for. So, would I be the jerk if I redirect that $1,000 a month into my retirement account versus helping my daughter? Not the jerk. Tell her you need to divert the funds you are giving her to ensure you're cared for as you age. So your daughter made a mess, your wife told her to clean it up, and she refused, and then she got upset about it? You raised a winner there, OP. Not the jerk. Not the jerk, but $1,000 a month would buy you a pretty nice long-term care insurance policy. I'm just saying. Not the jerk. I don't want or expect anybody to take care of me in my old age, but her general attitude would be the end of any financial support. You simply do not bite the hand that feeds you. First time I dressed up for a double date and my friend didn't like it. My friend Joel, who's 20, asked me, 21 male, to join him for a double date with Jean, who's 20, and her friend Sam, who's 19. Joel got a date with Jean, but she wanted to make it a double date as she wanted to introduce Sam to the dating scene in a more friendly kind of way. I agreed to it, but Sam wasn't amused by the idea of me being her date, but agreed because she was happy with just the experience. Why? Well, me and Joel are two totally different types of guys. He's the charming and athletic guy, while I'm the chubby and more reserved one. Doesn't help that I'm balding this early in life. The times I have met her at university has been while I'm wearing the same clothes. I have a set of clothes only for university, sort of like a self-imposed uniform. Every day is different, but I repeat weekly. So yesterday I got my hair cut as low as possible without going into shaving, fixed my beard, and I have to say I was looking mighty fine. Got out my brand new clothes. Now today we had our double date after 2 p.m. I arrived late, but only by 5 minutes. Joel was texting me like crazy until I arrived holding a rose for Sam. I'm a bit corny, but I thought it would be a nice gesture. Joel wasn't happy for some reason. Jean looked surprised, but Sam, she smiled widely and her eyes sparkled a bit. We start our date and Sam and I are having a bit of a blast. We decided to go out bowling before we go for ice cream in recommendation from Sam. We got along, but not really enough to say that I like her more than a friend. Maybe a second date, solo this time, would be nice. As we're hanging out, I could feel glances from Joel and small smiles from Jean. I know Jean is smiling because Sam is having fun, but I didn't know why Joel was so angry with me. After the date, Joel unloaded on me, how I was cringe for bringing Sam a rose, that I was there to entertain Sam, not distract Jean from him, that I dressed too formal and too fancy. I was only wearing a white shirt, flannel overshirt, and jeans with my Converse. He also said I should have stayed at home if I was going to act like I did at the date. I just talked with Sam, shared a meal with her, and went to get her favorite ice cream from her favorite store. He was there, and Jean was 100% on board with the ideas. I barely talked with Jean. He had all the playing field for himself. Not my fault Jean was more interested in seeing her friend happy. Sounds like he was annoyed that you showed him up on the date. He's probably used to attention and thought being next to you would make him look better. Sorry, just going based off your description. Girls care way more about thoughts and effort than just attractive. That's why you are getting the attention of both of them. OP. I knew from the start he was planning to use me to look better, but I wasn't expecting him to be rude about his date with Jane and blaming it on me. Maybe the only reason Jean agreed to date your friend was so she'd have an excuse to get Sam out on a date with somebody, and Joel is salty about it. Don't worry about it. It sounds like you and Sam had a nice time, and Jean is happy that Sam enjoyed herself. Joel is being insecure. You absolutely should ask Sam to go out solo, even if you decide she's not for you romantically. It sounds like you guys get along well and could be great friends. OP. I think I will ask her out. She mentioned she was more into retro gaming, and we have an old school arcade close to campus. Update. Let's start with my friend Joel. I explained to him what had happened and how it made me feel, and he apologized. A bit of a forced apology, but it's been 2 weeks, and he's actually changed a bit. I explained that he should be more attentive with his dates and took it to heart. He is still the same guy, but now he at least tries to actually connect with his date. Jean, well, not much. We started hanging out, but I don't know how much happened with her and Joel. Just that it didn't work out. I will take that. Now Sam, well, I asked her out for another date, this time a solo date, and she said yes with a big grin on her face. We went to the arcade and we had a blast, maybe too much. That night I returned to my apartment at 3 a.m. and exhausted. That was a night filled with firsts. With that said, we hit it off. I thought we wouldn't click, but after a few drinks and karaoke, we really made her loosen up a bit, and we talked for another 3 hours on our second date, had 2 more dates, and now we are officially dating. I showed her my last post, and she was amused by all of your replies. Karen and her family are using me for manual labor. My girlfriend, who's 27, and I, 28 male, we've been together for about a year now. She's great. The problem is, she and her entire family never chill. I don't feel like I fit in at all. She's a hairstylist. In her time off, she has gardens, and she's constantly working on projects. She likes to find old furniture by the road in rich neighborhoods and completely redo it. She's really good at it, and she can make it look really nice, but she's constantly doing something. Her entire family is like this. Her sister, who's 31, and brother-in-law have an entire farm. Apparently, the sister has some sort of fancy goat that she breeds that goes for thousands of dollars per goat. She does goat shows and stuff. They have huge gardens, just massive, tons of bird-type animals, chickens, turkeys, peafowl, etc. Her husband is a welder, and he makes good money, and their parents love him. The sister also constantly has projects going on. Pottery, paints, makes baskets, etc. Constantly something. I've been roped into digging potatoes and other gardening ventures as well as building a whole fence. However, they do give us a lot of free food, and they are very generous, so I try not to complain. Her brother, same thing. Works in construction, gets off, has gardens and tons of projects he's always doing. I found myself randomly clearing land a few times with him. Their dad is also the same way, constantly has a project going on, works construction, just constantly doing something. The rest of their family, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, etc. also do this. There's constantly something going on, and they all do blue-collar type work. At any given time on weekends, or in the evening, someone will call needing help with something, and all of a sudden I'm doing manual labor for a random family member. We can't even go by our parents' house without me getting roped into something. Just last weekend, we went to drop off something, and next thing I knew, I was putting metal roofing on a lean that I had no idea they were even planning to make. I never even had any hand tools until I met her. I didn't need them, I just call someone. I don't pretend to be one of these guys. I don't know how to do any of that, and I don't want to. I work a desk job, and when I get off, I want to play video games. That's about it. I didn't have this type of family. My dad never did any of this. He just called someone. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I need something done, they are there and have completely built me a shed for the lawnmower and a few other things within a couple of hours, better than I ever would have and cheaper. So I appreciate that, but I just don't fit in here. I really like my girlfriend and her family is nice enough. I don't think they really like me, but they're always nice. I'm just not sure if this is what I want. The stress of never knowing what's going to happen with these people and constantly being put in situations like this is kind of getting to me. My girlfriend doesn't get it. I've asked her to just go without me several times because I don't want to end up doing manual labor. We've argued and fought over it a lot because it just keeps happening and she goes along with it even if we had plans, so then we have to cancel what we were going to do and go help them. I hate it. I'm not sure what to do. If I stay, I know this will be my life. These people have no chill. Edit. I'm not saying these people are bad or anything. They're the nicest people I've ever met. They don't care who you are or what color you are or even if you speak English. If you need help, they're the kind to completely go all in. All hands on deck kind of people. There have been several times that a storm has come through or something has happened and my girlfriend is explaining to me how she knows this person or whatever, so they're basically kin and we help kin. We show up and there's 40 people and a bunch of tractors and people working and I don't know what to do. I'm just in the way. She just walks up to someone and then walks back and tells me where to go. This kind of stuff happens often. Or if it's planting season, it isn't just everyone planting their garden and moving on. No, everyone plants everyone's garden, and we end up at her sister's place with 40 other people doing farm work. Then when it's time to harvest again, all hands on deck everywhere. Go from place to place, then to her sister's. I mean, I get tons of food out of it, but it's work, and I don't know what to do on a farm. But if we need something, I can count on them to show. A storm threw a tree onto my place, and by the time I started figuring out what all needs to be done, there were 40 people in the yard and her dad directing everything. It was done so fast, it was ridiculous. I mean, these people are really good about helping, but I get roped into this helping, and I don't know what to do with any of it. I just want to chill. There is no chill with them though. Honestly, I think you won't be compatible long term. I had always dated women who were busy with stuff like this and came from families that had a ton of stuff going on all the time. Then I met my wife, who does what I do when we have time off. We quietly read, nap, talk, or go off on our own to our own little quiet hobbies. For her, it's working out, and for me, it's wrenching on a project car. I never knew how good downtime could be with a woman who is on the same wavelength as you. I feel zero stress with her at night or weekends. We don't rush around, we plan and ensure we don't need to do 6 different things and 8 different places, etc. I love it. Think long and hard about a future life with a family like this. You're not a match. That's the deal. Her family does this because they like it, because it keeps them close. Like, this is how they interact as a family. Does someone need help? Let's all jump in. Everyone helps and everyone is helped. It's a nice dynamic, but if you don't like it, there's no harm in that either. Find a girl who wants to game and call a plumber when the toilet is broken and hire a carpenter the next time you need a shed. No one is wrong, you're just not a match. Honestly, the family sounds like great people and probably make OP look selfish and lazy in comparison, which makes him feel bad about being himself. They are used to an extremely communal life. For me as an introvert and somewhat of a physically lazy person, this would probably start getting to me as well. Although everybody might be super nice and I would appreciate them, I would still want to be left alone as much as possible. The less I can be myself, the crankier I would become. Am I the jerk for refusing to take my ex-girlfriend's 2 other kids with me for Christmas? I, 40 male, have a daughter, Claire, who's 14, with my ex, Amy, who's 39. Amy and I broke up when Claire was born because she felt like we settled down too soon and felt shackled by our relationship and family. We've always shared 50-50 custody ever since. I got married to my now wife, Jane, who's 35, about 5 years ago. Amy went on to have 2 other kids with 2 different men who aren't involved with their kids. So she has full custody of her 2 other kids, then 50% custody of Claire. Her 2 youngest sons are 2 and 4. Claire doesn't love her living situation with her mom. The place is crowded and her 2 younger brothers are just toddlers. She says they don't leave her alone and she gets no time alone there. So she prefers to stay with me more often now. She also gets along really well with my now wife and wants to spend a lot of time with her. Claire asked me if she could spend Christmas Eve and Christmas Day with me and Jane. Our regular schedule was that Claire spends Christmas Eve with one of us and Christmas Day with the other. Then we switch it around the next year. I told Claire that I can't give her an answer to that without discussing it with her mom. She asked her mom before I could discuss it with her, and Amy called to tell me it's okay and that Claire can spend both days with me because she has her hands full anyway, and it would take some work off of her plate. I'm excited to have both days with Claire, and so is Jane. Jane actually suggested we go somewhere since we have both days to spend with Claire. So we planned a trip to a beach resort in another city. I called Amy to let her know, and she said it's fine, but she called me back 2 days later asking if there's any chance I can cancel the beach trip and do something in our city, and also include her sons so that she can go and see her family this Christmas. She said her sons don't have passports, so she can't take them to another country with her to visit her family. But this is the only time she has to visit her family because she always has to work. I said I barely know her kids, so it's going to be strange to just take them in and care for them for however many days that she's gone. I want to just relax with my wife and Claire, and taking care of 2 toddlers that I don't even personally know is not my idea of a good Christmas. That's so much pressure, and I haven't taken care of a toddler in about a decade. I also already told Claire about the beach trip, and she was so excited, so simply staying home isn't an option if it's not an emergency. I don't imagine she'll be too happy to have her brothers come along when she complains about being at her mom's house because of them either. I told Amy the reasons above, except that Claire doesn't like being around her brothers, and she said I'm doing this to punish her for leaving me, and that I could easily take care of her sons, but I'm being spiteful. I told her to stop being ridiculous. We broke up 14 years ago, and I found the love of my life after that. There's no reason on earth for me to be spiteful. I said I really am sorry to decline her request, but I'd rather just be with my immediate family this Christmas. She said she didn't think I was the type to alienate kids out of spite, and she's disappointed in the man I've become. This is the first time since our breakup that we've had an argument or anything even close to it. She usually isn't like this, so while I think it's unreasonable of her to expect me to take care of her 2 sons while she's gone, I'm kind of worried that I damaged our co-parenting relationship. Not the jerk. She's emotionally blackmailing you so she doesn't have to take care of her kids. Not the jerk. You're not their parent or guardian. She's had however long she needed to sort out passports, and this sounds like a trap. Maybe my brain is going wild, but what if she never returned off this vacation? And also, what if she did return and started telling tall tales about how you were bad to them or something? This leaves you in a very vulnerable position in more ways than one. Not the jerk. Caring for 2 toddlers while their mom is off having a good time in another country is no joy. What if one got hurt? Your daughter requested to spend both days with you so she didn't have to put up with her brothers. Do you think she'll ask for that again in the future if you do what she's trying to get away from? Your ex is only saying those things as a manipulation tactic, trying to make you feel bad so you'll cave in. Remind her she got what she wanted. Part of that was for you to not be in any future family with her. Am I the jerk for telling my daughter that she should leave her pet rat at home now that my girlfriend has moved in? I'm 45, male. My girlfriend, who's 45, of 2 years, and I have moved in together. Everything is great and she gets along very well with my kids, at least with my son. I share custody of my 2 kids, who are 16 and 15, with my ex-wife, who's 40. There's one problem though. My girlfriend has a phobia of mice, rats, squirrels, in other words, rodents. This is something we all know, and people laugh about it, but it's a serious issue for my girlfriend, who can't even see a picture without starting to hyperventilate. My daughter got a rat as a present when she turned 15. She brought it home, and my girlfriend freaked out, and she apparently left the apartment without even noticing that she didn't have her shoes or coat on. I got upset with my daughter because she knows my girlfriend's fear. I told her that she should leave her pet at her mother's house from now on when she comes over. My daughter got upset and started yelling that my girlfriend is being ridiculous, and me too. Her rat wasn't the problem, so it shouldn't have to be kept at her mom's, and that my girlfriend should move out since she's the one who has the problem with the rat, not the rat with her. I told her that we are a family, and family makes compromises. Now she's saying if her rat isn't welcome, then neither is she, and she's planning to stay with her mom until her rat is allowed or my girlfriend moves out. My ex-wife called me to tell me that I'm the jerk for choosing my girlfriend. I told her she was the jerk for getting my daughter this present. Am I the jerk? Update. Yeah, like many here have anticipated, this whole rat thing was planned on purpose, and I have to say it makes sense since I never once had the impression that my daughter even liked rats. I was surprised at the birthday party. My girlfriend and I moved in together about 3 weeks ago, and the rat showed up 10 days ago. I know this now because I've tried to text my daughter about other suggestions, like a second rat, a dog, etc. She has made up her mind, it's her or my girlfriend in the apartment. My son told me all of this. He said that my ex-wife and my daughter have been bashing my girlfriend and calling her a homewrecker. Anyway, my daughter can live with her mother for the time being because, legally speaking, kids here can decide which parent they want to live with at her age. The plot twist is that my son expressed desire to move in permanently with me instead, and I guess that's because of all the drama. My son hates conflict and confrontation. Of course, ex-wife is now bombarding my phone because she believes that I have put my son up to this because my son said he'll start packing a bigger bag today if I agreed to him moving in permanently. He talked about visiting her instead of living there, and I agreed. This is escalating very fast, and I don't seem to have found the brakes to stop the madness. My suggestions made things worse. Thanks for listening. If any 40-plus divorced parents have any advice on how to resolve this issue, I'm all ears. And if it's relevant in any way, I didn't leave my ex, she did. One day she sat me down without forewarning and told me she wasn't happy anymore and wanted a divorce. Everything went fast afterwards, and we were divorced 6 months later. It was never an affair or anything, but I think she liked someone, but it didn't work out. After a few months, she said she regretted it and wanted to reconcile, but I didn't feel right about it. And one thing was her finality in her decision, but most importantly, I wasn't in love with her anymore. So she suggested us dating again. We were supposed to keep that a secret in case the spark didn't reignite, and we would have built up hope for our kids for nothing, but she probably told them anyway. I started dating my now girlfriend around the same time, and I fell in love with her. I ended things with my ex. The odd thing is that she cordially accepted my decision, but apparently she hasn't, and I'm reaping what we sowed now. It felt good to vent about it here, so thanks. And any 40-plus divorced parents who would want to talk, hit me up. Absolutely not interested in input from 20-year-olds with no experience of parenting. Update. Well, my daughter is now refusing to talk to me, and she has moved in with her mom and said that this is permanent. My son moved in here with me, and I can see that he really enjoys it here. I've been blocking my ex-wife's number for periods at a time because I've been receiving all kinds of threats and insults from her saying that I manipulated my son against her. My son is a very quiet boy and has never given me any impression that he's been having a bad time with his mother. I only noticed when he moved here and started talking and opening up about how miserable he's been. The rat, my daughter decided to free him, and she and her mom drove to the woods and just let it go. I'm no expert on rats, but that's the story. My girlfriend and I have decided to get a dog. Maybe that would change my daughter's mind about not visiting. Although I must admit that life has been so much easier now than when she was around, making everyone walk on eggshells not to set her off. Both her and her mom refuse therapy. Over and out. Am I the jerk for telling my daughter that either everybody comes to her birthday party or no one comes at all? My daughter is 11, going on 12, and her birthday is coming up in a few weeks. For her birthday, she wants to go swimming, so we rented the local community center that has a pool and a giant activity room where we'll have lots of treats and stuff. We asked her to make a list of who she wants to invite so we can get everything coordinated. She asked if we could just invite her whole class of 20 or so kids. It's a big activity center with lots of room, so we said that was fine. So she goes to the kitchen and about 10 minutes later comes back with her classmate directory. Her school puts together a small binder that lists the names of the students by each class, the names of their parents, and a phone number and email address for them. She hands it to me, and I quickly noticed that 3 names had been crossed out. I asked why, and she said those are the ones she doesn't want to invite. I started asking her other questions, like if they had an argument, or if they were mean, bullies, etc., and she maintained that no, she just thought they were strange and didn't like them. I told her that she can't just invite the whole class with just 3 exclusions. She just kind of looked at me and said it's her birthday. I explained that this could be hurtful to them, and that if she was so staunchly against them attending, then it would be better to have a smaller party and invite just a handful of her closest friends. She said she doesn't want a smaller party, she wanted a big party, and I told her then everyone in the class is getting an invitation. She said no, they aren't, and I told her okay, then no one is, and she ran out of the room crying. She has started crying and running away whenever she has seen me since, and I'm starting to feel guilty. My wife was frustrated with me and says that she gets where I'm coming from, but it is my daughter's birthday, and she should have only the people there that she wants. I try to explain that I don't want our daughter to be a reason that these 3 kids have a crappy time in school. I can't, in good conscience, let her exclude other kids like this. Am I the jerk here? Wife says all we need to worry about is our daughter having a fun birthday, and I'm already ruining it for picking a fight over something no one will remember years down the road, but I don't agree at all. If they were bullies, that would be one thing, but they aren't, so to me, it's cruel. And cruel sticks with people. Not the jerk. Can I suggest you speak to your daughter's teacher and ask if there have been any issues or trouble with those 3 kids she doesn't want to invite? But you are right, if there are no issues, it should be all or none. Not the jerk. Kudos for teaching her right versus wrong. Maybe turn it around and ask her how she would feel if she was one of the 3 excluded from a classmate's birthday party. This one's hard. As a teacher, I personally do believe kids should be able to pick who they want and not be forced to invite the whole class. This is a special day for them, and in the real world, you don't include everyone as much as it sucks. However, inviting such a large percentage and then leaving out just 3 is really rough. Any way to edit things a bit? Does she mostly have girlfriends and there are 3 guys? So maybe leave out all the guys and make it an all-girl party. I feel like in a class of 20, maybe leaving 7 out is okay. But when you start getting down to the smaller numbers, it'll hit them hard. Whatever you do, send the invites outside of school if not everyone is invited. Ultimately, I suggest you talk to the teacher. Your daughter may not want to share the real issue. No jerks here. You're the jerk. I know this might be controversial, but I was a kid not long ago, and I was friends with most people in my class, but there were definitely kids that I didn't like or get along with, that I didn't want at my birthday party, and I've always thought it was unfair that I had to invite them. My mom had the same opinion as you. Everyone should be invited, and I shouldn't leave anyone out. But at the end of the day, it's their party, and it will just be uncomfortable for the guests because they will know that they're not wanted there. Trust me, kids are ruthless and will go above and beyond if they are unhappy with the situation. I think you're just going to end up making your kid unhappy and the other 3 kids as well. Will your daughter and her friends actually include them in the activities? Or will they just show up to the party and be left out by everyone for a couple of hours? Which scenario is best? If they were toddlers, I'd understand. Kids that young are friends with grass if need be, but they are at the age to have people that they like and dislike. I won't share gift cards with my husband. I, 33 female, have a type of job in one of the care industries. While I do work for an actual company, sometimes the clients that use the services of the company are so grateful of the level of care that an individual employee may give to their loved one, they feel moved to give us gifts for our efforts. These gifts can range anywhere from a bouquet of flowers to homemade or store-bought treats, gift cards, etc. Anytime I get delicious treats from clients, I always share them with my husband, who's 33 male. However, if I come home with gift cards, like a $25 Amazon gift card or a $50 Visa, my husband wants me to share those as well. One time I came home with 4 gift cards, Target, a Visa, and 2 Amazons. When he saw them, he started talking about how I need to share them since no one gets him gifts for his work. He works in construction. He moped about it, and I do love him, he works hard, and I gave him one of my Amazon gift cards and insisted on keeping the other ones myself, since these are gifts from clients that I work with and for the care of their loved ones. Recently, I've been given gift cards again, and when he saw them, he asked what I planned on getting with them. So I told him, and the items I plan on getting will be strictly for me, and he scoffed at that. He started complaining again about how I should share or get something that benefits both of us. We went back and forth a bit. I reminded him I always spend my own money for things that benefit us both or that we can both enjoy, and that when I use these gift cards, I always get something I can't always afford with my own money. He kept insisting that I share. He brought up the fact that it wasn't fair that even though I shared an Amazon gift card with him before, he ended up with nothing because Amazon messed up his order and he never received his item, but he got a refund. I told him that that was not my fault at all, and at that point, I got really annoyed and told him to leave me alone. He made a comment about me not being raised to share. I'm an only child, and I got mad and told him, that's that sibling mentality and only works with parents and their kids. Get over yourself. And I walked off. He side-eyed me. I kind of feel bad about it, but honestly, I just want my gift to be mine. I work with a new set of clients every few months, so this is a frequent occurrence. Is there a better way I can respond or handle it better in the future? More context. We're not exactly well off, but bills are always paid and our fridge is always full. We can afford to treat ourselves once a month, and we always treat ourselves together or we don't leave each other out. But like, if we want to get ourselves something really nice, like a set of weights or a kit to do my nails, then it is a sacrifice the other does not benefit from, so we put purchases like that on the back burner for a while. We have gifted each other just because in the past as well. Additional info. My husband works construction and I work in a care industry that is not medical. In fact, in the field I work in, it's customary in the US to give gifts to the workers during a designated appreciation week or during Christmas holidays. So I only get gifts twice a year, more than 6 months apart usually, and the most gift cards I've ever gotten was 4. But the value of those gift cards usually don't amount to more than maybe $50. We also have no kids. We consider ourselves 50-50, but it goes like this. My husband makes more than I do. He takes on all utility bills, including internet and cell phone service, covers health insurance and car insurance. I inherited a house that needed repairs. There's no mortgage, but there is a home repair loan I pay monthly, and I pay the car note for a car that I purchased. Since the house belongs to me, I choose on the responsibility of saving for property taxes. After we're done paying our bills with our own separate accounts, we usually have a few $100s left in our individual accounts. We put that together and we use that to buy groceries and bath and home essentials. We treat ourselves once a month. We share almost every interest and hobby, so say if one person wants to go to the comic book store as a treat, we both walk out with comics. If one wants to go buy a video game, then that's cool because we're both gamers. Or we take a drive to the beach, go see a movie, go out to dinner, etc. We're not rich, but we can afford to go out at least twice a week. We try not to. Update. I asked him about why he got so upset at me wanting to use the one $25 Amazon gift card I was gifted for myself, and he admitted he hoped I would get something for the house since the kitchen is lacking some equipment, and he knows that $25 is not much, but it could make something nice cheaper. He then told me that I don't have to do that. I asked him why he brought it up, me being an only child, and he said, I don't know, I guess I'm just used to having to share and such with my sisters, but I guess that's different. I reminded him we share everything except makeup and clippers, and reminded him it's not my fault my mom couldn't have more of me, just like it's not his fault his family had to stretch resources and comparing our childhoods isn't gonna help the situation any. I told him I wanted to get a gel nail kit so I could do my own nails again. I lost my old stuff in a fire, and he said, "I do like when your nails are done." Then we went out for a nice breakfast. So yeah, I'm keeping the gift card. The end. Thank you and good night. My fiancé secretly went to Paris to see a female friend. I'm 27 female. My fiancé Eric, 27 male, has a friend, Jane, who's in her 20s, who lives in Paris. She had moved by the time we were introducing each other to our friends, so we've only met over a video chat. Me and Eric have been together for a year and a half, and before we got together, he and Jane were involved. He told me it ended badly, but they did get over it. I don't know exactly what happened. I've never asked. She's really important to him. They do talk once or twice a month over text or video chat, and I know that they have a lot in common. I've never gotten the impression that either one wants to go back to how it was before, and he's never given me a reason to be insecure, until now. He asked me to marry him 3 weeks ago, and I said yes. I was really excited to marry him, but then suddenly a few days ago, he announced that he needed to go visit family, which was weird because he cut his family off several years ago. He has expressed to me that he has no interest in seeing them again. He said that it was an important family emergency, and then he just left. He kept me updated, and we talked a few times on the phone. He told me that his mom was having health issues. I had no reason to be suspicious. Edit. I'm reading that over, and it sounds weird, but he's always been very touchy when it comes to talking about his family, and I didn't want to push it. But then, a couple hours ago, I get a message from Jane asking if Eric was okay. I said that he was visiting family, so he was probably just a bit stressed out, which is why he wasn't responding to her messages. She then informed me that he's in Paris with her and snuck a photo of him in her apartment. I haven't replied to her yet. I'm freaking out. I have no idea what to do. He just got on a plane to fly 12 hours to see her without telling me, presumably last minute. Why is he there? Do I talk to him? Has anyone else been in this kind of situation before? I mean, good on Jane for telling you. Is she aware you guys are engaged? OP. Yes, she knows. She congratulated us both, and I believe he told her that he was going to propose before he did. Update. I left him. A lot of people were concerned that he'd find the post, but I did change the details. The main issue remains the same. Jane lives in a foreign country, at least 12 hours away, and he decided to go to her without telling me. After I posted and the comments started rolling in, I had to shut my phone off. There were many people saying that Eric wanted to be with Jane, that he wasn't over her, and I started having a panic attack. I'm not an insecure person usually, and Eric had given me absolutely no reason to be. But this whole thing, I felt very stupid and like I'd been blind. He was always very open about his friendship with Jane and how much she meant to him, but there was absolutely nothing that made me think he still had feelings for her. Honestly, even if he had told me he wanted to visit her without me, I probably would have said fine, as long as I got to go on my own vacation. Anyway, I got Jane on the phone the next day. Her story is that he just showed up at her door, claiming that he missed her and that he just needed to get away. She provided proof that she had no idea he was coming, and I have no reason to not believe her when she tells me nothing happened. I think she was angrier than I was. At the time, she figured that something really bad must have happened, either with me or with his family. She knew from past experiences it was better to just let him talk when he was ready rather than pushing it. She gave it 2 days, during which he was behaving very impulsively, kept spacing out, and he brought up their past multiple times. They hadn't seriously spoken about it since it ended years ago. He's usually the calmer, more level-headed of the two of them, so this behavior was extremely out of character. Finally, she decided to text me to see if I knew anything. After I told her that he was with his family, she put it together pretty quickly that I had no idea where he was, and she confronted him about it. They got into a massive fight that lasted for hours, and she eventually told him to leave. She didn't really tell me what the fight was about, just that she yelled at him for not telling me, but after talking to him, I've got a hunch. Me and Jane talked for a long time. Both of us were crying by the end of it. I think this whole thing opened up some wounds. She told me their history, a lot of which really surprised me, like how they weren't even really boyfriend-girlfriend, and he's the one who ended it. He had always given me the impression that it was bad, but ultimately mutual breakup. It was just a really toxic situation for both of them, and it took them a long time to get back to being actual friends after, which brings me to my conversation with Eric. He showed up a few days later after I talked with Jane. I had packed up and left to a friend's at that point. He came over to talk. My friend was in the place the whole time. We talked for a while. I asked him 100 questions and he answered 5 of them. He said he was sorry, that he can't provide an actual explanation for what he did because he doesn't understand why. I said that wasn't good enough and I needed him to tell me what happened. He said he couldn't because I won't understand. I suggested couples therapy for us. He's been doing it individually since before I even met him, but he said he didn't want to. He just wants to forget it happened. The positive explanation I have is that he had some kind of freak out after we got engaged, or maybe something did happen with his parents and he couldn't talk to me about it, which is fine. I don't necessarily think that if someone is struggling, the first person they should always go to talk to about it is their partner. I'm totally fine with him going to Jane if he was freaking out over the prospect of us getting married, or if he did hear something about his mom. Jane could probably understand that better than I could and would know what to say, but he can't even talk to me about it now, and nor is he making an effort. So how does that bode? He just wants to pretend that everything's fine and normal, and I can't do that. On top of all of that, up until now, he's never been secretive about how he feels or what he's thinking about or his history. He hates talking about it and is touchy about people asking a lot of questions, but he's always told me stuff if I ask. I think if he was panicking over us getting married, or if something actually happened with his mom, he'd tell me. I couldn't help myself and asked if it was because he just didn't want to talk to me about it, or if he wants to be with Jane and regrets how he treated her. He denied it, but I think I hit a nerve. He claimed that he doesn't have any leftover feelings for her other than the fact that she's a big what if. She's important to him, but she's in the past and I'm the future. This may just be my fear talking, but what if this whole time he's been using me to try to make Jane jealous because he realized that he lost her, and he went to see her to see if she still wanted him just in case. I think that's what they fought about. I think he went there to see her because he realized he still wants her, and she's been off living her life without him, no problem. It's bad enough if that is the case, but if I take him back, what if she changes her mind? I don't have a reason to believe she'll change her mind. She doesn't talk about him the way that I talk about someone I'm romantically interested in. And now that I know their history, I wouldn't want him back either. But who knows? After our conversation, it's obvious that he's not 100% certain that he wants to build a life with me, and he's not willing to do what it takes to fix this. I'm not worth the work. He won't even try, and that's basically the big issue for me. I can't build a life with someone who won't put in the effort. My Karen mother is expecting me to sleep in a backyard tent on Christmas. I, 18 female, am the youngest out of 4 kids. My siblings are 31, 28, and 25. We were raised by our dad and stepmom, and our biological mom lives in another country with her husband. She wants me and my siblings to spend Christmas with her this year and has offered to pay for our transport and visas. My siblings are all married and have kids and are going to bring their spouses and kids with them. Our mom's house is quite big, and she said she'll spread out air mattresses in the living room and there's a guest room. She didn't say anything specifically to me about where I'd be sleeping, so I assumed I'd be sleeping on one of the air mattresses. Well, one of my brothers told me that my mom expects me to sleep in a tent outside. I honestly thought he was messing with me, but when I asked my mom about it, it turns out she did. The conversation wasn't in English, but it basically went like this. Me: brother said that you expect me to sleep outside in a tent. Is this true? Mom: yeah, I thought you would be fine with having your own tent. Me: why didn't you talk to me about it? Mom: I didn't think it would be a problem. Is it a problem? Me: it is. I don't want to sleep outside. Mom: I don't know what you want me to do. There's too many of you. Me: can I sleep on the couch? Mom: no, my husband likes to watch TV late. You'll be a nuisance. Me: I don't know then, but I'm not sleeping outside. I'd rather not go. My mom told all of my siblings about the conversation, and now they're all mad at me and told me to just suck it up and go. They said I'm being selfish and making a fuss about nothing, and that I can't expect any of them to sleep outside with their spouse or their kids. I told my dad about it, and he's now really upset with my mom and said that she's being a mega jerk and alienating me on purpose, and they had a huge fight on the phone. My siblings are all mad at me for causing this. Edit: my mom lives in Western Europe, so it will be very cold there, and most likely snowing as well. Not the jerk. The fact that your stepdad wanting to watch TV at night is more important than you being able to sleep inside tells you exactly where you stand in your mother's priority list. If your jerk siblings continue to pretend that sleeping outside in a tent during winter isn't a big deal, tell them that you'll accept their offer to switch beds with them. Not the jerk. What kind of person expects a guest, regardless of whether they're family or not, to sleep in a tent outside when everyone else gets a cozy air mattress inside? I just can't wrap my head around that. Well, what would you do in this situation? Would you still go to your mom's or not? Please let us know. I think it sounds like it could actually be fun, as long as it's not too cold in there. Knock money off my paycheck for grammar mistakes? Let me point out all the mistakes on my boss's work. Years ago, I took a job in another country for a very small company that taught English. My responsibilities included reviewing and editing lesson plans created by non-native English speakers. Many of the lessons taught EU English, while I'm accustomed to US English. My boss, and the only other native English speaker, was from the UK. Therefore, there were certain nuances that I was unfamiliar with. That being said, I was one of the better people on the team QAing, but I wasn't perfect by any means. There were often mistakes I saw slip through on lessons not assigned to me to review, but I never purposefully called people out for them. It was kind of a crappy company and bad lessons to begin with. But if there were glaring mistakes, I would quietly fix them. One pay period, months after I had been working there, I received a decrease in my pay along with a note explaining that the reasoning was because of X and X mistakes that had slipped through on my work. I was upset as this was not a part of my contract, but I couldn't really contest it in this foreign country. The note did, however, note that this decrease in pay for mistakes made on job duties was for all employees in my department. I knew that there were tons of mistakes on other lesson plans that weren't mine, so I pulled up the first one and began sending messages in the group chat of every mistake I could find, and there were a lot. I did this rapid fire until my boss, who was sitting across from me, sent me a message that essentially said, "Don't worry, I can assure you I am being held to the same standards and expectations," before he got up and walked away in a huff. After he walked out of earshot, my other coworker laughed and said he had messaged her and asked how I knew that particular lesson was one he had QA'd. I told her I didn't know. I had just pulled up the first one I knew there were tons of mistakes on. I didn't get any more money taken out of my paychecks after that, but I left the company shortly after. Edit. Have learned I'm stupid, and it was British English. My wife is mad that I'm hesitant to use our 2-year-old savings account to buy a new car. This has been an ongoing debate, but I'm trying really hard to put money away for our daughter. My mother passed when I was 18, and my father was worthless. My mom put money away as much as she could and left us with a house, had insurance that paid out, and gave me the start in life that I needed without her. I don't make a ton of money, but over the past 2 years, I've managed to put away about $5,000 for my daughter. I'm kind of angry at myself for not saving more, but it's still something, and it's in the highest interest savings account I could find. I just want her to have a good life, free of too many worries about the small stuff. Maybe I can help her with a deposit for a house someday, tuition, her own car, or something like that. My wife doesn't like that I'm saving money for her. She says we have things that we need now that are much more important. We don't own a car, and we don't need one for the most part, but my wife's starting a business and will need one. She doesn't understand why you should save. Her parents never saved for her and don't help her financially. I don't really want a car. She got even more mad when I tried to meet her halfway and say, how about we pay our little one back over a year and add the interest she would have had on the money if it had stayed in the account. She said that's incredibly messed up, and how could I even suggest we pay interest to our daughter? I'm at a loss. I've never been great with money, but I recognize how much savings can help. Am I the jerk for being resistant to using our kids' savings on ourselves? I recognize that money is just money, and these barriers I've put up are artificial, but surely I'm doing the right thing. Not the jerk. I get needing money and looking for places to find it, but you're doing a great thing for your daughter, and if you let this money go, you'll do it again and again until there's nothing left. Info. What kind of business is your wife starting? None of my business really, but if you're that cash-strapped, I'm dubious on her chances of success. Starting a business can be expensive. Might be better to get a regular job without startup expenses and save up. Or do you both really believe she has a good chance at success? And please, this isn't an MLM, is it? Asking because taking money from places you shouldn't to start a business is often where those stories start, and they never end well. Not the jerk. Wanting to save money for your kid is a noble goal, and if you have solely contributed to your kid's savings account, then you should dictate how it's spent. But it sounds like you and your wife are in different places when it comes to how you handle money. You need to get on the same page, otherwise this will be an ongoing argument where she sees the kid's savings account as money that's available for daily use, but you don't. It would be useful if you and your wife could get some financial counseling and/or marriage counseling so you can get on the same page with these and probably other differences. Everyone sucks here. It's good that you're thinking about savings, but it seems like you have become fixated on saving for something that's 20 years away, and you're also not thinking about what your current financial needs are. That would be out of balance, and it's generally not a good idea to do things in an imbalanced way. It would be worth doing some big picture thinking about your family finances and then making some decisions as a couple. Because the second reason you're the jerk here is because you seem to be making family financial decisions on your own, and you don't appear to believe your wife has an equal say. That's not how a healthy relationship works. You also need to think about short-term spending. If the family does need a car, it's not clear from the post if that's a real need or not, then that should be considered. There also needs to be some kind of fun money every month, or life just becomes dull, hard, and slog that's barely worth living. It doesn't have to be much, but saving for future security at the expense of living your life now is not balanced. If you have money to put into savings, then you can find a balance between that and at least minimal fun money. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his wife? Please let us know. Financial advice and parenting advice, two of the worst things to ask for on Reddit. My best friend's mistress doesn't know that he's actually broke. My wife's reaction to the whole thing really bummed me out. I'm 41, male. My best friend, Jack, who's 41, I've known him since kindergarten. Well, he cheated on his wife, Anna, who's 39, with a girl half his age, Max, who's 25. Anna is one of the best human beings I've ever met. She's very beautiful, kind, and caring. She's very successful, too. When Jack met her, he was so in love that he wrote an ironclad prenup just to be with her. In other words, Jack has nothing to his name. He met Max on a work trip, and it was then that he cheated on Anna. The affair lasted for 2 months until Max made an ultimatum to leave his wife for her. Jack refused and tried to end the affair, so Max told Anna everything. This broke Anna beyond repair, and she told Jack that she couldn't forgive him. They're in the process of divorcing now, and Jack lives in a small studio apartment near his work. After Jack lost hope to reconciliation with Anna, he started seeing Max again. Now they're officially dating. My wife, Pat, who's 32, knows all of the details. She's more forgiving and understanding person than I am, and I love that about her. She is way more tolerant because I'm Team Anna, and there's nothing Jack can say to make me change my opinion. Now everything is settled, my wife said that she wanted to invite Jack and his new girlfriend to our place. I was very reluctant at first, but my wife insisted that my friendship with Jack is important. We're basically brothers, and we should accept people we love even with their flaws. It made sense, and I trust my wife to always make sense. The dinner was awkward. I couldn't see past these two cheaters. Jack pretending to be happy, and Max overexcited for the fact that she won this prize named Jack. I understood then that things won't be the same, but my wife was right. I love Jack, and that's the most important thing right now. Max talked about her upbringing and the hard life that she had had growing up. She talked about her future with Jack and all of the fun they would have. It dawned on me that she didn't know that they couldn't do half of what she is dreaming of with Jack's salary. It dawned on me why she chose him and why she was so willing to do what she did to Anna. She had learned to know the Jack who lived in fancy hotels and drove a fancy car. When I asked her about their living arrangements, Max said that Jack temporarily is living in a studio apartment until the divorce is settled. Max talked about what she would do to their place, renovation and redecorating. The apartment that Anna bought for her family with her hard-earned money. The one she decorated with her husband from scratch to make it their home. I remember how happy and full of dreams she was when she found her dream home. To hear Max sitting there talking about how she would use money she never earned to redecorate a home she wasn't entitled to, making fun of another woman's taste and style, it brought tears to my eyes. Yes, men can get emotional too. Jack has not told Max the truth. When they left, Pat and I started discussing our dear friends. I was very surprised when Pat angrily told me that I was cruel and callous for not wanting to enlighten Max about her new situation. My wife thought that Max had a tough life and she deserved to have a good life now. I was taken aback by my wife's logic. I told my wife that I will not tell Max anything, but that if she wanted to, then be my guest. But now I don't understand my wife, and I'm turned off by her morals. Anna was a great friend of my wife, but my wife doesn't even seem to care about her. My wife then got very angry and accused me of caring too much about Anna. That's when I ended the discussion, because I realized that this was going below the belt. Update: I've fallen in love with my best friend's ex-wife. My previous post opened up my eyes. This is so convoluted, but I'll try my best to make it make sense. About my wife, Pat. Sometimes you think you know the person that you fell in love with and married, but then something serious happens and your relationship stands in a trial. Something divisive, and you find yourself standing on opposite sides. You start wondering about the person you chose to create a life with and wonder why you love them when they're so different from you. You realize that you probably love the version of them that you created in your head. We had a lot of discussions, Pat and I, about how I felt about her new friendship with Jack and Max, and she ignored my disdain for what they had done. I understand that people fall in and out of love and they move on, but then other people in their surroundings also should have feelings or opinions about these decisions. Nobody is right or wrong. Pat's approach was very non-judgmental, which is obviously an admirable thing, but I found myself on the opposite side. Pat told Max that Jack is actually not the one with the money like he had been pretending, and while he is probably not going to be totally empty-handed in this divorce settlement, it won't be the amount that would allow all the dreams and plans she's made, especially when Anna is getting full custody. This put a big wedge between Jack and Max, and they've been off again and on again since this revelation. Jack has expressed a lot of disgust and repulsion towards Max, so I really don't understand this relationship and why these two miserable people stay together, nor do I want to understand. They disgust me, and I'm done with them. About Anna. When she heard about my separation from my wife, she reached out to both of us. She said that since she's gone through something similar, she wanted to offer support and love. She said that she knew what we were going through. We started talking on the phone and texting. Now almost daily, I've met up with her on a few occasions for dinner. I find myself thinking about her all the time, and when I wake up in the morning, I go directly to my phone to see if she sent me a good morning text, and I know my day will be just fine when I find one. Not sure if this is love or if I'm falling for her. Not sure if pursuing anything with her is wise. I've not told anyone about these feelings, and I'm not sure I ever will. I just know that I love having her in my life. She's a great friend, and maybe I shouldn't ruin this beautiful friendship with this beautiful woman because of my desires. Additional info. The thing is, Jack changed a whole lot too. It wasn't only the questionable morality of having an affair, and I don't know if he has always been this way, but never needed to show his true colors because he was married to a brilliant woman. He's now moronic, bitter, and angry all the time, very disrespectful of everything and everyone. He called Anna, the mother of his kids, mean names, and even now his new girlfriend, he calls her names too. He hasn't even seen his kids since Anna made it clear that they would never get back together, like their purpose is done. Never once did he say that he misses his kids. And Pat has seen all of these changes, and it doesn't even bother her, not even a little. What she told me was that he will have more kids with his new girlfriend. I remember the fight we had after this conversation. I never really recovered from it. It's true what they say, that people show their true colors when times are bad. My geeky girlfriend's friends hate me. Pretty sure one of them has the hots for her. I met my now girlfriend at our campus gym. I jokingly asked her to spot me, made a joke about me not being a big guy. I'm not, and somehow ended up getting her to go on a date with me after we were done. We've been together ever since. While I was getting to know her, she admitted to being a huge geek. I never would have guessed, but apparently her brother pretty much gave her a constant stream of stuff like that. At the time, I thought cool, we could play Xbox together or something. There actually wasn't a lot of overlap, besides some games like Halo. She's into a lot of things that I never paid attention to, like Dungeons & Dragons, Final Fantasy, World of Warcraft, etc. It's been pretty fun, and we still work out and run together all the time, and she'll watch me play my sports. We're going to do some co-ed leagues together too. The only problem is that a small group of her friends really hate me. I'll name the main problem guy Bill. There's been a couple of really passive-aggressive things him and his little group have done. 1. We were playing Destiny and doing a strike, which is for 3 players. It was Bill, my girlfriend, and me. He kept leaving the party and inviting her to a different party. When she refused, he sent a text saying another one of their friends was on and wanted to play. My girlfriend decided to just play with me and one of my friends. My girlfriend has a nice apartment. I'm probably over there 5 nights a week, including Saturdays. On Saturday, they have a Dungeons & Dragons party basically. Some of her friends who play, including Bill, come over and play Dungeons & Dragons. Bill complained about all of the people who came over and don't play. Everyone else just drinks and has a good time. My girlfriend told him to get over it because everyone else has a good time. Another video game related issue. My girlfriend had all of us play Diablo 3. Her, Bill, me, and Ryan, who's actually a good guy. I was having a little fun, basically making my girlfriend hold my hand through the game. Bill ran ahead and died. He was upset. He invited my girlfriend to a concert with him and his closest friends after I had already bought the tickets for us to go and have her see it with my family. My girlfriend told him that we might see him there, and he asked if we would even be together that long. This one's probably the most egregious. Yesterday, he literally sent a text to me saying that I'm hogging my girlfriend. I sent something saying that if she didn't want to hang out with me so much, she wouldn't. He replied I didn't have to do everything with my girlfriend and that it was annoying people. I'm positive he has a crush on her. My girlfriend's told me that she grew up with him but never really liked him, that he was a part of the group and she'd rather not make a fuss. She's pretty non-confrontational. I don't think I can really blame him for having a crush on her. She's beautiful and all, but I definitely think he's been nothing but a jerk this whole time. Fortunately, I'm not very threatened, mainly because he isn't my girlfriend's type physically, if what I look like is anything to go off of. Should I just ignore him? Update. Well, those of you that just said that he'd escalate things, you were right. Something I ate must have given me food poisoning 2 days ago, so she's been taking care of me for the past few days. She got a call from Bill, who was at her apartment with some of her friends. She pretty much has an open door policy. People drop by unannounced all the time. She went to go meet them, and apparently they decided to have some sort of an intervention, basically saying what Bill had said to me earlier in text, that I didn't have to do everything with them and that we spend too much time together. It escalated because my girlfriend got angry, and they aren't friends anymore. My girlfriend came home crying. I did my best to comfort her, and we haven't heard from them since yesterday. Apparently, there were a few more people, including some of her female friends in that group, that she's been really close with who had a problem with us, but most of her friends didn't bother taking a side. How do I support her through this? She's lost a relatively large chunk of friends, and even if they weren't great friends, they were the people she shared her hobbies with. Obviously, if she wants to do anything with me, I'll do it with her, but I can't replace all of them. She's not crying anymore, she's just angry at this point. Advice would be great. Update 2. John, another one of her original Dungeons & Dragons friends from school, sent my girlfriend an email asking if they could talk with us yesterday. We agreed, honestly thinking that they might apologize. They actually decided to tell my girlfriend that they'd still like to be friends and that they didn't have to be friends with me to be friends with her. My girlfriend said she understood that, but wasn't even sure if she still wanted to be friends. They actually apologized for putting her in that position the other day when they tried an intervention. She still said the only way that they could ever be friends again was to apologize to me and her. I really don't know why. I had to ask them what they didn't like about me, and they told me. And honestly, some of their points had a little merit, and I'll probably have to work on them. I only met my girlfriend because I was physically attracted to her and decided to talk to her. I don't think this is a legitimate criticism. I spend too much time with my girlfriend, which I do, but like I said in the previous post, it's something we both currently want, and I've never told her to hang out with me over them or anything. I only talk to my girlfriend when we're all in a group. I guess I do tend to do that. I see how that's annoying when we're having a conversation no one else is a part of. They feel like I've had my girlfriend kick them out before. She has a few times so that we could be together. Both times I didn't tell her to. Apparently, my friends that came over made a few jokes about Dungeons & Dragons and made them feel uncomfortable. I actually apologized for this. Although I'm probably not going to say anything to them, we weren't really more than acquaintances. Bill heard a story, and thus told it to the rest of the group, from one of my few high school friends, about a few of the girls I dated in high school, and that I had a nasty habit of leading girls on in high school. I did, but my senior year, my mom and my older sister sat me down and told me to stop doing this and treat them with more respect, so I did. I told my girlfriend about this. I consider it to be one of the more important moments of my life. Anyways, we left. My girlfriend and I talked it over. She's still not going to forgive them if they don't apologize to both of us. She said she doesn't want to spend any less time with me and sent an email pretty much saying this to them. 2 of the 6 have already apologized by way of phone call. I should note that Bill wasn't there. I think he's out of town for whatever reason. Not sure if he'll apologize or not. I wanted some advice on how to be around the group that did and will apologize. The 2 girls in the group are her friends that usually come over multiple times a week, as opposed to her Dungeons & Dragons group which only come over once a week. I think the girls will probably start inviting her out more as opposed to hanging out in her apartment. I really don't think that, if they continue playing D&D, that they'll be able to hang out somewhere else. My girlfriend said that she'd be willing to move the game night. From what I've gathered so far, Bill gathered all that info about me from my high school friends, and it makes me uneasy. I don't have anything to hide, but he basically researched me. I haven't said anything about this because I do want my girlfriend to have her friends back. I think our relationship is still doing great. We had a lot of fun this weekend before they asked to meet us. I also want to apologize for posting so much. I'm not terribly close with my friends. I can't really talk to them about any of this. I would have been really upset if someone's significant other at my games had friends over and they made fun of me and my friends for playing Dungeons and Dragons, to the point of not welcome here anymore. OP, they're not coming over again. I just won't invite them. I definitely think Bill was the instigator in all of this, but for just a moment, try and see it from the rest of their points of view. Hey Reddit, we have this friend that we love to play Dungeons and Dragons with. She has a new significant other, and they seem to really like each other. However, she seems to always spend her time with him, including on our game nights. We try to talk to him, but he basically ignores us. On top of that, his friends made fun of us one night, and he didn't stand up to them, which you think he would since he loves his girlfriend. One of the other group members said he used to be a huge womanizer a few years ago. When we tried to talk to her about it, she got really mad and is demanding an apology to the both of them. What should I do? I'm not exactly defending them, but everyone on here seems to be jumping down their throats as well. From your point of view, they're being unreasonable, but from their point of view, you're being a jerk. I don't know what the intervention was actually like, but can you at least see why some of them might have been concerned? They probably took it a little bit too far, with Bill leading the way, I'm sure, but you aren't faultless either. I think you need to drop Bill and then try to get to know them individually instead of lumping them into her Dungeons and Dragons group. Having everything be relayed through other people is a little juvenile. Maybe try to just grab coffee with one or two of them, or have them try to teach you how to play. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is don't make your girlfriend push her friends away because of one idiot. OP, I definitely plan on making an effort with those ones that apologized. I think the reason I never talked to them before was because they were probably a little hesitant around me, and I just took that as them not really wanting a conversation. I never heard my friends saying anything. If I did, I would have said something, even if it's just a little defense, because of my girlfriend. High school geek groups, in my experience at least, do this weird thing where if even one nerdy girl joins, everyone else goes into a "we must protect the Hive Queen" mode and becomes super territorial of her. That's why I'm a closet geek. For some reason, when those "nerdy is my only personality" guys find out that I share their hobbies, they think I'm the fated one heaven sent to them. It sounds like they're used to using this girlfriend's apartment as their hangout spot, and I wonder if part of their gripe is about not being able to use her place whenever they feel like it. It would also be easier on the group if the girlfriend dated within the group so their dynamic isn't disrupted. They may have been hoping Bill and the girlfriend would pair up. Early 20s group dynamics are crappy adults who still engage in high school level drama. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk or not? Please let us know. Don't date people with dramatic friend groups that cause problems and drama and stuff. It's totally not worth it. Am I the jerk for not allowing my sister to use my farm as her wedding venue? My late grandpa started his farm while he was in his early 20s. There were financial problems along the way, but it became successful and he became rich. My late grandma, who passed last year, grew up in the average working class home. My parents came from rich families and went to private schools and Ivy colleges. My mother and father always wanted 3 kids, 2 girls and 1 boy. I'm the youngest out of 3 girls, and my parents were desperately hoping that their last would be a boy. But since I was a girl, they were resentful of me, and they didn't show any love to me, and I was pretty much treated like Cinderella. Because my parents showed resentment towards me, my sisters did too, and I was bullied by them, and they always got away with it. We were treated differently as they both went to private schools, private colleges. They were also allowed to do whatever they wanted and eat whenever they wanted. I went to a public school, public college, and I was only allowed to eat 3 meals a day. I didn't mind going to public school, but I'm just trying to show how I was treated differently. At the weekends, I was shipped off to my grandmother so they could have family time. At age 12, I asked my grandmother if I could live with her, and she agreed. As soon as she asked my parents, they immediately said yes and started packing my bags. Whilst going to my grandmother's at the weekend, she made me work on the farm. Even whilst living with her permanently, she continued to make me work on the farm on weekends. I hated that I had to work on the farm, and looking back now, I realize why she made me do it, as she made me work on the farm as a source of therapy, as I was constantly arguing, and her animals were my therapy. I remember spending most of my days sitting with the horses and feeding the chickens. I also spent a lot of time running across her fields. My grandmother sadly passed last year, and she left this whole estate to me, which my family wasn't pleased about. I decided to leave my job as a lawyer and work full-time on the farm, and I'm so much happier. When my grandmother was alive, she also used part of her fields for wedding venues and events. She also allowed charities to have events on her farm free of charge. 2 months ago, my sister got in contact with me after 4 years of no contact and said she's engaged and asked me if she could use Grandma's field as her wedding venue, as she would like to get married here. The thing is, I can't let go of the past, and I've started therapy, but I told her I need some time to think about it. My first thought was to charge my sister a price for the venue and make it a price she couldn't afford, but that didn't feel right, so I simply said no. Now she's passed my number on to my parents and my other sister, and they're all saying this is my grandmother's farm, and she should be allowed to get married on the farm, and I should even do it for free. My emotions are pretty high right now, and I need to know if I'm the jerk. Tell them this. This is the only home that I've ever known. I will not be used by people who threw me away like yesterday's trash when I was younger and who have not chosen to be part of my life since then. You burned the relationship to the ground years ago. Grandma knew who all of you were as human beings, and she would not be pleased to have you all piling on like you are. Legally, this property belongs to me, and each of you knows why. My property is off limits. Sister may not hold her wedding on my property. If they escalate, tell them that you will consider it trespassing if they step foot on your property and actually follow through when one of your parents does, because one of them will. Not the jerk. I fired our family therapist after she asked for tips. My ex and I have a 12-year-old son who's going through some things lately. We found a therapist and we've been seeing her for a couple of years now. It hasn't been life-changing for me in any way. In fact, it became more of a pointless chore, like making your bed or folding your clothes. I might have gotten a few things out of it, but would not do it again. A few weeks ago, I had told our therapist that it's bizarre to not have to worry about money for the first time in my life. I make good money and I don't have many bills. I'm saving like $1,000 a month. Last week, the therapist asked me if I could start making a copayment. I don't have a copayment because my insurance covers 100% of therapy sessions. I explained that to her, and she said that was true, but maybe I could start paying like $20 cash because she's not making a lot with what my insurance pays her, like a tip. I was at a loss for words. I said, and I suppose this has no relation to me telling you that I have disposable income from a few weeks ago? She said of course not. It was like she was asking for a raise. I said I'd think about it. I found nothing about tipping your therapist. I talked to my ex about it and said that I was firing the therapist. She told me not to throw away 2 years of work, and I said this therapist tried to take advantage of me. She offered to pay, and I said I'm not stopping you, but I'm not doing the sessions anymore, and neither is our son. The trust I had in our therapist is broken. I left a voicemail and text message explaining that we weren't in need of services anymore. I haven't heard back. Guess what? Our lives didn't fall apart, and the therapist replied that I totally misunderstood the whole tip thing. Not the jerk, and I'd contact your insurance company. They'll probably want to drop her entirely if they find out about this. Yeah, also, if the therapist is registered with any type of governing body, I would report them. I'm a nurse and registered with my provincial college of nurses. It's unethical for any healthcare provider to ask for any type of gratuity, and if I did so, I would and should be reported and lose my license to practice. Not the jerk. That was trashy, and she needs to bill the insurance for more if she wants a raise. It's fine to think your time is worth more, but there are channels for this sort of thing. One slight issue might be unilaterally canceling the therapist your family has worked with. Your family not falling apart isn't really an indicator of her usefulness. Sounds like you're projecting how you personally feel about therapy onto your other family members. I certainly understand wanting to pursue a different therapist, but maybe wait until a replacement has been secured. I don't know. Everyone sucks here. Firing her was the right thing to do, but you're using this as an excuse to take your son out of therapy. Your son, who is going through things, should not lose the support just because you find it to be a waste of time. You don't see the point in therapy, fine, but don't use "our lives didn't fall apart" as justification for keeping your son from mental health treatment that he needs. The more I think about it, the more I question if you actually did misunderstand what she was saying and spun it because you find therapy worthless. My wife drained our savings and got on a plane. When we first got married, I was all of our income. I was making around $80,000 a year, but I was working 50 to 60 hours a week. My wife had small jobs that she would do for a month here or there just for a little extra spending money. We've been saving for a house since we currently rent a condo and we both want to have kids. With wanting to start a family, I did not want to work as much as I was because I felt I'd miss out on a lot of our kids' childhood. I decided to find another job with a better schedule. I found a normal Monday through Friday, 40 hours a week job that I'm happy with, but as you can imagine, losing all of that overtime came at a cost. We talked about it before I changed careers, and she told me that she would work and help because now I'd be making significantly less. I went from $80,000 down to about $55,000 a year. Fast forward 5 months. She worked part-time at a restaurant for a few months and helped pay for groceries, which is all that I ever asked her to pay for. She loses the restaurant job that she was slowly starting to hate, with the reason being they were too slow. Whether or not that's the real reason, I'm not sure. In the past, she could quit a job and it wouldn't really affect us, but things have changed since then. So now I've been working 6 days a week and 10 plus hours of overtime to make up for the loss of income. Monday I came home. We ate, then we had to go grocery shopping because I had no lunch meat for work lunches. On the way to the store, I asked her what she did today and she smirkingly responded, "I laid in bed and did nothing at all." I said, "That sounds nice. I wish I could do that," which made her angry. I told her that I didn't think it was fair that I had to work all this overtime to pick up the slack and she gets to lay in bed and do nothing all day. I said I feel like I'm contributing more to this relationship and it's not fair. She starts yelling at me in the car, so I bring her back home and drop her off. I proceed to go grocery shopping by myself. I come back home and she's gone. I text her a few hours later asking if she's coming home tonight and I get no answer. The next day, I go to work, come home, and notice some of her electronics are gone. iPad, Apple Watch, chargers, etc. I text her again. "Are you coming home today?" Still no answer, still doesn't come back. Thursday comes and she uploads a picture of herself on Snap inside Midway Airport. I respond asking why she was there, to which she ignores. I check our savings and it's all gone. She took all of our house savings, which is around $8,000, and I can only assume she got on a plane and left. She removed me on Snap. I tried contacting her and I'm getting the confirmation that she reads my messages, but she's not responding. I'm not sure if she's coming back. I assume she is because she left some jewelry that her mom got her that has some sentimental value. But honestly, I don't know if I should take her back. I don't know if I could ever trust her with money again. I don't know where she is or what she's doing, but it's been a week now. I haven't been without her for more than 2 days for the 4 years we've been married, and to do this really hurts me. Everyone I've talked to says I deserve better and I shouldn't take her back if she does try to come back. I love her. Being without her drives me crazy. If she comes back, what should I do? Update. I caught her driving by the condo when I was leaving to meet some friends. I texted her and told her, "I'm leaving for lunch. You can go to the apartment and start getting your stuff." This sparked a flurry of text messages and phone calls. I asked her to explain herself. She said she's been staying in a hotel nearby and she hasn't talked to me because she wanted me to call her. The text messages, Facebook messages, and Snapchat weren't what she wanted. She needed a phone call. I told her she was ignoring my attempts to contact her. Why would I try to call her? She never got on a plane. She said she took a picture at the airport dropping off her friend, which that was Thursday. So if she's back by Saturday, that would have been a short trip, so I kind of believe it. She didn't blow all the money, but she's been using it for the hotel and to eat. She admitted she was slacking around the house and recommended counseling for our issues. I explained how terrible it was being ghosted and left in the dark for a week. I told her I need time. She has no family in this country and only 2 friends, so I told her to stop wasting money on a hotel and offered the spare bedroom. OP, you need to immediately contact a divorce attorney. Freeze your credit, file for divorce, and move on. Dude, please get some self-respect and divorce her. Why would you ever take her back? Get a new bank account at a different financial institution and start having your paychecks direct deposited to it. Then go see a lawyer about a divorce. Well, what do you think? Should OP divorce his wife for this or not? Please let us know. Some people in this world will take and take and take from you and never give anything in return. They feel entitled to all that you have to offer for some reason. The sooner you can get away from that type of person, the better. Am I the jerk for having dairy-free options at Thanksgiving, so now I'm not allowed to cook for Christmas dinner? I hosted Thanksgiving at my home this year. We have several lactose-intolerant family members, one of them being my son's husband, So I made some recipes using oil or olive oil butter over real butter, or using lactate milk so it would be safe. I made sure to put the dairy-free items apart from anything with regular milk and butter by having a separate small table for those dishes. My son-in-law ended up feeling very ill and my son brought him to the ER that night. Even though I used safe ingredients, he still had a reaction to something unknown in the food. My son rang me up from the hospital asking what was in the dishes at the dairy safe table. I told him I had used oil, vegan butter, and lactate. He was upset with me because I put milk into the mashed potatoes. I told him again I put lactate milk so it would be safe. My son-in-law has recovered and he's doing well. My son, however, is quite upset with me and claims he cannot trust me to cook food for them again because I mislabeled the food. He's claiming he has told me many times about his husband's dairy allergy, and I agree he has, which is why I made separate food. It's now to the point where the family doesn't want me to make any dairy-free dishes for Christmas because I'm failing to understand. Instead, they have all agreed my sister-in-law will make some of those dishes while my son and son-in-law will make the rest. I'm beside myself because I love to cook for and feed my family. I feel I'm being displaced when what happened on Thanksgiving could have been caused by a reaction to anything. Your son-in-law is not lactose intolerant, he's allergic to dairy. Lactose intolerance is a completely different medical condition compared to dairy allergy. People who are allergic to dairy cannot have lactate milk or any dairy in any form. I can see that you tried your best to make something safe for your son-in-law, but it sounds like, without knowing, you made a mistake that could have resulted in your son-in-law's life. Also, it seems like you still don't understand the reason why the food you made was not safe for your son-in-law, so it's really for the best, for his safety, if you don't cook for him again. I'm sure you would not want your son-in-law to become very ill or worse from eating food that you cooked. So I really hope you can come to terms with this and not feel like anyone is trying to displace you. You're the jerk. From the sound of your post, this is not the first time this has happened, and you have seemingly chosen to willfully ignore the information your son has provided for you about his husband's dietary needs, both verbally and as a written list. You may have seen the other comment explaining what's going on here, and you still don't understand it. Your willful neglect and repeatedly refusing to educate yourself or follow basic instructions, well, it makes you a jerk. Am I the jerk for wanting to get divorced because of a surname? My wife and I had difficulties in conceiving due to an accident I had when I was younger. After 3 years, we finally had our daughter 3 weeks ago. Baby and mom are home and healthy, but I've been on the couch due to an issue over the surname. My wife was previously in a long-term relationship with her ex, who she lost due to his mental health issues after he returned from service abroad. Her son from her first relationship lives with us and is 12 in a month's time. Her son has her ex's surname. She wants our baby to have her ex's surname. She still goes by that name, so that her son doesn't feel left out from his new sibling and future siblings, and because he had a better name than mine. I tried to compromise by saying since I practically raised her son, he can have my surname. That way he won't feel left out and she can take my name too. She said no, as he's had this name all his life and he shouldn't have to change it to appease me. I tried to explain that they have 2 separate fathers, so it's natural that they have different names. I suggested she use her maiden surname and hyphenate it with mine for our baby, and she can hyphenate her maiden name with her ex's for her son. That way the siblings will have almost the same name. That was turned down too. We have to register the baby's name next Thursday. I told her that we should probably get couples therapy and in the meantime register her with my name. She turns that down too, then said she went through the trouble of carrying her and pushing her out. She should get to decide this on her own. I even asked her son, and he said he doesn't mind having separate names, as he knows his father was his father, but I'm dad. He doesn't care if his sister has a different surname. I told my wife this, and she said I'm emotionally manipulating him. We had an argument 5 days ago, and we haven't spoken much. I didn't want to continue like this, as this should be our happy moments. 2 days ago, I told her that the baby either gets my surname or we're getting a divorce. I told her that perhaps her deceased husband could help raise our daughter with her since she doesn't want to acknowledge me as the dad. She called me a manipulator and says it's not fair that she doesn't get to decide the baby's first name on her own or the surname. Her suggestions for the first name when she was pregnant were feminine versions of her ex's name. Think Alexis, Alexia, Alexandra for Alexander, and his actual name if we had a boy. Today I called a solicitor and she overheard. She's telling me that I'm forcing her into a corner with this name thing Even though we went with her choice of first name after I ruled out the ones similar to her ex's, and my choice is a middle name. I just want some outside opinions on whether I'm doing the right thing. Like, what am I doing with my life anymore? It's so messed up. Wait, hold on. Is this a case of her never changing her married name back after the passing of her ex? I understand her wanting to keep the same last name as her son, and I feel like the hyphenation is a great compromise, so I would say not the jerk, because it's ridiculous for her not to compromise. OP. Yes, she kept her ex's name, and I was fine with that, as she explained she wanted to have the same name as her son, but it seems she was keeping it for other reasons, as she still thinks it sounds better than mine. Wait, you said your wife still has the late partner's last name. Legally. That's a little different than her wanting to give your daughter a late partner's name, to be honest. It's her name too. However, it is extremely weird that she wanted to name your daughter after him, the first name. OP. She's 43. Most of her life was under her maiden name. She has gone under his name for about 10 years, but she didn't officially change it until she added her ex-husband first and middle name to her son's official name when he was 7. Then she changed hers too. We were dating and exclusive, but I didn't mind thinking she was doing it for her son. It's only been her legal name for about 6 years. In the beginning, she did bring him up a lot. I was okay with the first few years, but then I had a talk with her, so she brought him up less and less. Then she changed her son's name and also her own. I didn't mind as she wanted the same name as him, and she was married to him, so I figured it was okay for her to change it even if she did it years after he had passed. When we were discussing marriage, she said she didn't want to change her new name to mine as mine is just bland. I didn't mind. Romantically, we were okay, and she likes that I'm good with her son, but won't let me adopt him. This caused a rift, but to keep the peace, I backed down. While trying for a baby, we were more like roommates, but she really wanted a baby and so did I. We were overjoyed when we found out it was a girl, as she had always wanted one. Making a list of names and middle names caused some arguments, but not major ones. Am I the jerk for telling my friend she should have seen her husband and her friend's affair coming? Background. I, 35 female, was friends with Julia, 35, and Alex, 34 female. We've been friends since college, but our tiny group expanded from 3 to 7. This story is about Julia and Alex. 2 years ago, we all came to know that Alex was having an affair with a married man. Her excuse was that he was unhappy, and that's why he was seeking outside validation. I advised her to stop it, and this is not healthy because he will not leave his wife. She didn't listen, rather accused me of being a bad friend. All of my friends were against it, but to them it was not my monkey, not my circus. So I contacted the wife and told her everything. I knew who the wife was because the married man had once introduced us, and everyone in my friend group turned against me, especially Julia because she thinks I betrayed my friends. She stopped talking to me because if I can betray a close friend of mine, then I can betray her as well. Alex was heartbroken because the married man decided he wanted to work on his marriage, so he broke things off with Alex. Julia was with Alex, and I was shunned from our group. What happened now? A few weeks ago, I got a call from Julia. She was crying and telling me that Alex betrayed her. She's been having an affair with her husband, and that she is heartbroken because she has supported her, and this is how she repays her. Even our friend group is divided. I was angry at that moment. I mean, she ignored me for 2 years, badmouthed me, said that I was wrong. I literally warned her that Alex was toxic, so I told her that she should have expected this from Alex. I mean, did she really think that she will show loyalty towards you when she already did something immoral before? I knew the moment she made excuses of having an affair with a married man, her morals were compromised. I'm not religious, but I do have minimum respect towards other people and their feelings. And suffice to say, I'm not surprised she went after her husband. I do think I went too far because some of my other friends said I was too harsh on her. Even if what I said was the truth, I should have been more sensitive because she's going through a divorce. I do sympathize with Julia, but I also feel like as friends, sometimes we need to tell them the harsh truth. I know I said all of this when I was angry, but a part of me says she needed to hear that. Was I wrong? Was there any benefit to telling her this? It seems a little petty to me. OP. I agree it was petty, but at that moment I was angry. She ostracized me for telling the wife the truth and breaking up Alex's relationship because friends should stick together, and she also took part in justifying the affair. I was just enraged by her hypocrisy. Update. I've read many of your comments, and first of all, I want to clear this out right now. I do not regret telling the wife about the affair. I do not think I did the wrong thing. My friend was doing something wrong in my opinion. She happily contributed to destroying a family, knowing the man she was dating was married. I know the blame should be on him, but she also needs to take accountability for her actions. If I was getting cheated on, I would want to know. So I guess the wife would also want to know. I know a lot of you have shamed me, but just know that I don't even care. I was not the affair partner, so why should I take the blame? I was simply a messenger. Now on to the actual update. I did speak to Julia and said that I was sorry. I shouldn't have punched down when she's already going through some stuff. I did not want to add to it. I know a lot of you have told me to just cut her off, but I realized I was too harsh on her. Even if what she did 2 years ago was wrong, but she came to me when she needed a friend. I can sympathize with her in her tough times. She just went on and on about how she felt betrayed by Alex when she has always defended her, even when her own parents disowned her. Just out of curiosity, I asked her if she has plans to divorce her husband or work things out. She said she's going to file for divorce. Her husband is begging her for another chance and even said he'll cut off all contact with Alex along with the offer of opening their marriage on her end. But she's headstrong on her divorce. She did ask for my forgiveness and I do forgive her, but I still do not want anything to do with her. I do feel sorry for her and I hope she finds peace, but our friendship will never be restored to its own glory. She said that she understands and this is probably her karma and God is punishing her. She's quite religious. That's the end. I hope she takes him to the cleaners, and from the grapevine, I heard that Alex has been shunned from my former friend group because now they're afraid she might go after their husbands. And as for Alex, I do believe she is a psycho who enjoys breaking up families. I do not think any amount of exposing will work on her because she has no shame. She deliberately goes after married and committed men, and I'm glad I cut ties with her way before she could get to me. That's it. Have a great life and stay away from all the Alexes of this world. Am I the jerk for telling my sister-in-law that she's welcome to get a hotel if she's going to keep complaining about everything in my house? I'm 28, female. My brother, Alex, who's 33, and his wife, Rachel, who's 35, and their daughter, who's 7 months, are staying with me until after Christmas because they're back in our hometown for the month, and our parents' house is being renovated, so they have nowhere else to stay. I'm a nurse, and I work strange shifts sometimes. A few nights ago, I got home at around 2 a.m. after my shift. Usually I work either day or night shift, so getting home at 2 a.m. was unusual, but it happens sometimes. Anyway, I walk in the house as quietly as I could, but the stairs creak, so Rachel heard me coming up. The next morning, she asked if coming home at 2 a.m. will be a regular occurrence because I woke her up. She asked if I can avoid coming home at such hours or walking up the stairs because she'll wake up. I said I'll avoid it as best I can, but some things will be unavoidable, and I apologize in advance. She keeps complaining every time me or my brother walk up or down the stairs when she's trying to take a nap or at night when she's asleep. She's been complaining about literally everything. She'll say stuff like, "Ugh, this Wi-Fi is horrible. Ugh, this area is too noisy. I can't sleep. Ugh, this couch is bad for my back. The fruits here are terrible. These forks are too thin." If she was complaining about things that I could change easily, then I wouldn't mind because I do want them to enjoy their stay here. But hearing her complain about everything under the sun is draining. I hate coming home from work just to hear her complain and complain and complain. Yesterday, after she was complaining about how much she hates my induction stove and telling me I should just get a regular gas stove, I said I keep my house just as I like it, so she shouldn't worry about it. She said, yeah, it's how I like, but it makes it difficult for guests. I said I barely ever have guests, and the only reason they're staying with me is because I wanted to do them a favor, but that they're absolutely welcome to get a hotel if she's just going to keep complaining about everything. She told my brother about our conversation, and he said I've put him in a tough spot because he can't afford to get them a hotel or an Airbnb for weeks, but now I've made his wife not want to stay with me anymore. I said that's all on his wife, and none of that is my problem. Things are very hostile and weird around here now. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk, but you need to sit both of them down and tell them that you want them to stay, but your complaint tolerance level has been reached. They're free to stay, but one more complaint and the decision to stay is yours, not theirs. I don't even know why you feel the need to apologize for walking up the stairs in your house. Your sister-in-law is a tad too entitled, and she needs a reality check. Stop tiptoeing around her. Karma is a jerk, and so was she. This story is from quite a few years ago, back when I was a bartender in a corporate-style cookie-cutter restaurant. I mostly worked nights, but had one regular mid-shift on Fridays. We were always super busy at the bar for lunch on Fridays and usually had quite a few of the mall workers coming in to eat, then head back to work. Nearly every Friday, the same smug, borderline rude lady came in for lunch. Every time she paid exact change, zero tip. Maybe half the time she would complain over some minor inconvenience, and more than a few times got a comped meal. The more I had to wait on her, the more indignant and upset I got. So around Christmas time, I was out and about in the mall buying for family and friends. Picked out something nice for my girlfriend at the time, a sheer top which I thought would look amazing on her, decently priced with it being on sale too. Walking up to the register, I was a bit surprised to run into resting jerk face. Whatever. In street clothes, I felt like she barely registered who I was. Or maybe she really didn't care who was at her register. Maybe both. So I hand her a $20 bill. She examines it for a moment, turns it over twice, held it up to the light even. Then, out comes the counterfeit pen marker. Thinking to myself, a bit excessive, no? Change should have been around $1 and change. Surprisingly, she hands out $81 plus change. She calls next in line, so I step to the side for a moment in contemplation. I could honestly feel the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other. Took me a moment or two, but I finally let my moral compass win and stepped back in front of the register. I nicely explained that there was a mistake made, but before I could continue, she shot me down and briskly told me in a semi-professional tone to get out of here. So I did. The way I look at it, all those lost tips and the money she just gifted me was just karma. Sucked to be her, I guess. Karen's brats refuse to eat my Christmas dinner. I, 31 female, am going to be hosting Christmas celebration this year. The menu is usual and everyone is familiar with it. My sister-in-law's kids are what they call the most vicious picky eaters out there. Mind you, they're 6 and 9 and are probably just being deliberately difficult to their parents. Sister-in-law called to inform me that she will be bringing food for her kids to eat at Christmas dinner. I asked her why, and she said that they will not be able to eat anything from the menu after looking at it. I said that I was sorry, but there isn't enough space at the table for extra meals. And besides that, the kids should really start learning to be more tolerant to some foods, especially at family holiday gatherings where it's expected for everyone to just eat what's in front of them without complaining. She went on about how difficult kids can be. Mostly can't relate, but I get it. But still, she should keep in mind that it's probably a passing phase for them, so sucking it up for one dinner wouldn't affect them. She said that I don't get it and that she doesn't want them to stay hungry or feed on snacks. I apologized and declined. My husband got involved in this, and he's saying I'm being inconsiderate towards my guests. He said that I lose nothing by allowing them to bring food, but I disagree because this was not part of my plan. And if anything, this should be a teachable moment for the kids to know that they can't expect to be catered for all the time. He got more upset and told me that his sister is heavily reconsidering coming to a celebratory dinner where her kids weren't allowed to bring their own food. They're applying pressure on me, saying I'll ruin the celebration if I keep trying to die on this hill. Am I the jerk? You're the jerk. It's not your place to provide a teachable moment. Get over yourself. She's not asking you to cook special food, and she's bringing it herself. Their food can be put on their plates, so your no room argument makes no sense. Make sure to dress up as Scrooge for the meal. You're the jerk. Exactly. You don't get to choose the teachable moments for someone else's kids. Your husband's right. It costs you nothing to be gracious. You don't have to do anything extra. She was just being courteous by giving you a heads up. Don't make this a thing. Let everyone enjoy the day. Ironically, this is a perfectly teachable moment for OP that you're going to have to accept things will not play out the way you want them to when you have events like she is doing. You're the jerk. Either you want to dictate what people are eating or you want to enjoy your family at a holiday gathering. These posts about inhospitable hosts are getting tedious. I prepare all of our family's holiday meals, and I could give a rat's backside if people bring a favorite dish of their own food. And your excuse, there isn't enough space at the table for extra meals, is ridiculous and absolute malarkey with a side of horse manure. You're the jerk. Why are you so intent on ruining Christmas for kids? This won't actually put you out at all. You're just gatekeeping Christmas dinner for some weird reason. I mean, I can be a control freak, but I've got nothing on you. Methinks your heart needs to grow a couple of sizes. P.S. No one likes the sound of kids crying because they're hungry and don't like the food. Don't make everyone listen to it. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk or not? Please let us know. They wanted to start messing with the cat that I told them not to. This happened about 4 years ago, and I still laugh about it to this day. My older cousin had a cat named Tara when she was younger. Tara was a total loose screw, and she would bite and scratch anyone who so much as looked at her funny. And don't get me started when you dare disturb her sleeping. Never mess with Tara when she's sleeping. Tara only really felt comfortable around my cousin and I. She liked me because I usually helped my cousin feed her because I wanted to know what it was like taking care of a cat, as I want my own. Plus, I was already close with my cousin. Now here's where it gets good. My aunt and uncle were having a little family gathering, and they decided to invite some of their close friends. Among them were their demonic kids, Mini Bigfoot, who was 6, and Mini Yeti. Those two couldn't sit still or shut up for at least 1 second, and the parents just let it all happen. They would use the excuse, "They don't know any better." They probably would if you set a boundary or something at least. So while they're downstairs terrorizing the adults and anyone else who was brave and patient enough to be in the same room as them, me, my cousin, and her friend all just chill upstairs. They both are talking about some stuff with school and all that nonsense that I didn't bother listening to. They both leave the room to go run a few errands and buy some more cat toys, as Tara had demolished the previous ones. So now I'm left in the room alone with a little furball that's curled up on the bed having a darn good nap. Then I hear the sounds of rapid footsteps, and I didn't need to peek out to see who it was. Both gremlins walk in the room and immediately point out all the drawings on the walls of Nintendo characters. My cousin loves Nintendo. Then little Mini Bigfoot has to point out that there's a fluffy kitty on the bed. They reach over to pet her, and I inch their hands away and tell them to not disturb her. For some background, I already had a bad beef with these two, because when they were at our house, Mini Yeti pulled my dog's ear and tail constantly and wouldn't stop. Mini Yeti starts to whine about how much she loves cats, and she wants to cuddle the itty-bitty kitty. I tell her that Tara hates when her sleep is disturbed, and they still wouldn't go away. They went downstairs to tell their parents, and they told me, "Let them pet the cat. It's not even yours, and it's just a cat." I tried reasoning with them, and even my aunt and uncle sided with me, but they still wouldn't understand, as they swore it was just a regular house cat. I walked back upstairs, and suddenly I got a huge grin on my face. I told the kids that they can go play with the cat, and they started laughing at me and taunting me, but soon the tables would turn. They went inside of the room, and I camped outside the door. For about 5 seconds, I could just hear the "wow" from one of the kids. Then it finally came. An ear-piercing hiss and loud meow, followed by a distant sound of clothes stretching and gremlins screaming. They both sprinted out of the room crying, and the Mini Bigfoot had a big scratch going down his right arm. Little Yeti had it worse, as her nice new shirt was absolutely ripped, and the cat had got her on the arm too. Their parents were furious at me and commanded me downstairs to scold me. They asked how could I let that cat scratch them like that and not do anything about it. I was gonna say something, but then my dad's face went white as he pointed at the stairs. We looked, and guess what we saw? At the top of the stairs, Tara was right there with her tail hunched back and her ears folded flat against her head. To add to that, the lights upstairs were off, so her eyes were glowing. The dad of the two kids thought it would be a good idea to punish a cat that wasn't his, so he marched up the stairs while staring down Tara. Bad move, because Tara then leapt off the stairs and landed right on the dude's back and cut a huge cut in his shirt in the process. She then climbed off, then just went back up the stairs and went to sleep again, like she didn't just almost hurt them. When my cousin got back, we told her about the story, and she was mad at first. Then she started to laugh when we mentioned her cat wasn't hurt. Tara got a nice plate of tuna for dinner and a good back rub as a reward. Forgot to mention, Tara's still alive and kicking with my cousin. She's way different than she was years ago, as Tara takes time to warm up to strangers and doesn't just go full Bengal tiger mode on new people. She's way more lazier now as well. But one thing will always stay with that cat, and that's that you do not disturb her when she's sleeping. You will catch those paws if you wake her up. Am I the jerk for telling my husband I refuse to be a stay-at-home mom? My husband and I are expecting, and I am 5 months pregnant. We are over the moon and so looking forward to meeting our son. My husband owns and runs his own business, and so do I. We're both very happy with our jobs. Recently, we started talking about schools, childcare, and jobs, etc. Now, it's important to note that my husband and I are very safety-oriented and wary of people we don't know. I stated that I'd like to go back to work pretty soon after the baby is born. I'm looking forward to spending time with the baby, but I am in no way interested in staying home with him full-time. I'm imagining being back full-time when he's around 8 to 10 months. My husband was under the impression that I'd be staying home with the baby until he goes to kindergarten, maybe even longer. I was a bit taken aback because I had no idea why he thought this. He stated he wasn't really comfortable with leaving our kid with a sitter. Note, nannies are hard to come by where we live, and we both require some certain safety requirements for said nanny, which makes it hard to find someone suitable. I told him I wanted to start looking into nannies before the baby was born, so that they could get to know the baby during my maternity leave. That way, they would both be familiar with each other by the time I go back to work. He started arguing a bit about what our expectations were. I understand not every mom would be comfortable with my choices, but I cannot handle being a stay-at-home mom. I know it would mentally tear me apart, and it has no appeal to me. We're both in control of our own work hours, so it's not like we won't spend any time with the baby. We just both love our jobs and also need time to be people and not just parents. He said I was the jerk for not wanting to stay home until the baby starts school, and I said he was being a jerk for expecting that of me. He's respecting my decision and he supports me no matter what I decide. I recognize where he's coming from, but I just cannot for the life of me be a stay-at-home mom. But I guess I do feel a little bad because I'm wondering if I'm the jerk. Info: his business requires a bit more of him and requires him physically showing up for some parts of the job, which is why he cannot be the one to stay home. I have every means and access to stay home, I simply just do not want to. Am I the jerk for not staying home? Edit: it's an accidental pregnancy due to failed birth control, but we are now very happy. We've also talked about it in the past where he didn't show any discomfort with childcare. Guess we're all a little more overprotective when it comes to our own kids. Edit 2: I'm seeing a lot of comments stating, why didn't we have this conversation before marriage? We have. My husband and I have had this conversation, and we both decided we wanted to be child-free. We talked about it before we got married and have talked about it a lot since. We've even talked about accidental pregnancy, but never thought it would become real. This is a matter of failed birth control, and we just found out I was pregnant in month 4, so we weren't really left with many options. Furthermore, my husband changed his mind about outside childcare once we were actually in the situation. Guess parental protectiveness kicked in. Not the jerk. OP, do not let your husband guilt trip you into thinking you're a bad mom or a bad wife if you don't stay home. Once you start staying home, the dynamics of your relationship will change, no matter what your husband says. Plus, going back to work will be much, much harder. Now it'll be your job, and your job alone, to make sure your kid gets to school on time, has a ride home, gets meals on time, and overall just is prepared for daily stuff. If your husband isn't willing to make sacrifices so he can stay home, then he should not be expecting you to stay home. Period. Not the jerk. You state, he is respecting my decision and he supports me no matter what I decide. Are you delusional? No, I'm kidding. But he's not supporting your decision since you feel like this. If this is so important to him, he can make the sacrifice. Oh wait, you say he can't? Well, neither can you. He doesn't seem to support the fact that your mental health and love for your career exists. You both need to talk more about this. Will you be expected to be the one who drives the kid to school and picks them up every day? Sports activities? Friends' houses? Is he just providing the money? What's going on here? I'd recommend writing down some important points and sharing them. Or maybe move to an area where you can find the support for raising this kid and how you two would like. There are a lot more options than being a stay-at-home mom. I'm a stay-at-home mom, not by choice, and it has destroyed me. I'm not the person I was. I'm a hollow shell. Please don't get sucked into this. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her husband? Please let us know. Am I the jerk for making comments about someone not being able to have kids because she called me Kim Kardashian? I, 40 female, freely admit I love social media and pretty much share my life as per many people. I'm very proud of my accomplishments and deserve to share them. I have 2 beautiful kids, mid-teens, who I raise well. I train hard and take a lot of care over my appearance and clothes choices. I work hard and look after my beautiful home. We're also lucky to enjoy nice holidays. I share most of this, as well as venting about, say, poor customer service, and most of my friends expect this. I accept this isn't for everyone, but they can just scroll past. This involves my sister's sister-in-law, her husband's sister. Let's call her Sam, 45. We are linked on social media and see each other occasionally at my sister's. My sister and Sam post a bit, but not much, and rarely comment on my posts. Up to them. Sister has 2 kids who are in their late teens. Sam does not have kids. I heard unofficially from my sister a few years ago that she had had fertility treatments which hadn't worked. We've never spoken about it. Sister's daughters adore Sam. She's also their auntie. When she's there, I don't get a look in. She spoils them. I think she does it on purpose. We were at sister's house for a pre-Christmas party. I was taking photos, and eldest niece, who's 16, wanted to vet them before I posted them. This went on a bit too long. She looked good in all of them. My daughter does the same, and I eventually made an executive decision to post the perfect picture anyway. Niece was upset. Sam took her side. Sister was out of the room and said it was up to my niece. I said she couldn't always get her own way. She needed to learn life was about compromise. Sam said we weren't the Kardashians and niece had the right to veto. Calling me Kim Kardashian felt so disrespectful, and I said I was proud of my family and she would understand if she had had her own kids. She flinched but didn't really respond and was icy to me all evening. My husband apologized to her on my behalf, which she didn't even accept, and niece actually shouted at me. Later, my sister and even brother-in-law were angry when they found out. They called me later. But I didn't refer to her infertility, and what she said was really disrespectful, as if she was better than me. Am I really the jerk here? You're the jerk. Sam was absolutely correct. You shouldn't have posted the picture knowing your niece didn't like it. Second, having kids has nothing to do with this. You're not your niece's mom, and neither is Sam. The 2 of you were having this conversation as aunts. You only threw in the comment about Sam not having kids to shut her up. Finally, you know that Sam wanted kids and was unable to have them, so for you to use the fact that she's childless to win an argument was just wrong. Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.